Marv is late again. Barbers! What's going on, everybody? I go by the name. It's Marvy Marv, and you are now tuned in to Gem Talk, where we have conversations that inspire greatness. And I got somebody special with me today. I got my guy, S. Craft Blends. What's going on, bro?
What's up? What's up? Hey, real quick question. Sorry to mess up the flow. Do you hear it repeating everything you're saying?
Nah, I don't hear it repeating. Do you?
I do.
Where do you hear it repeating from?
See, right now I'm hearing everything that you said about 10 seconds ago, and what I'm saying is saying the same thing.
That's interesting. Do you have it open? Do you have like YouTube open or something on your computer where the live
Let,
is?
let, let me check that out.
Because I did that before and I had the live open and I was
All
wondering
right.
why everything was delayed.
That might be it. All right. I
We
think we're good now. We're good now.
Yo, see,
All
this
right.
is the coolest part, bro, because like I done already made the mistake, right? So seeing that I made that mistake before, once you heard the echo, I'm like, all right, let's troubleshoot it because this happened to me before. And
Beautiful.
cool, we fixed it, man. Welcome to Gem Talk, bro. I appreciate you taking the time.
Man, thank you so much for having me on here. I want to say that I love what you're doing, man. You're an inspiration, and you're dropping a lot of wisdom on the barber community, and we are very grateful for it, man. Thank you for being yourself. We love it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. I'm just doing my best to use my platform that God has given me to
Mm,
inspire people, empower people, help people, and just make a positive impact. You know, I've shared this plenty of times now, but my goal has always been to build the platform where I can bring the people on who are wise and insightful and are smart and are good for humanity overall. You know what I'm saying?
amen.
Because it's not just about what Marvy Marv's got to say. There's a lot of people that got voices that don't necessarily have platforms. I mean, at least you've been able to build a platform for yourself, but there's a lot of people that don't. So I'm just working to continue to build mine so I can give them a voice as well. You know what I'm saying?
That's dope, man. That's so dope.
Yes, sir. So, Barbers, where you guys tapping in from? I see they were getting on me a little bit, bro, because they said Marv is late again. Because typically when I when I hop on the duties, I'm always like a minute or two late. But VIP Fades came to my defense and said he not late. He was live on IG, letting
Yes,
everybody
sir.
know. We got a bunch of people in the building. Tank's in the building. Shout out to my man Tank. Chicago, Columbus, H Town, California. Texas, Fort Myers, New York, Tennessee, Palm Springs. And where are you tapping in from again, bro? You're
I'm
in
from
Florida,
Tampa,
right?
Tampa, Florida. Yeah, originally from the Fort Myers, Florida area.
I was just there this weekend for the gala.
Very nice, man. I wanted to make it out, man. Boom's doing a phenomenal job, bro. I wish I could have made it.
I'll tell you what, man. The gala was more entertaining, and I'd even say better ran than I expected it to be.
Okay.
And I've known Boom for a minute now, so I know that he don't play. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
know
yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
on it, and he does things well, right? So I already had expectations that it was going to be a good event, a fun event, and ran well, but he even blew my expectations. I had a really good time. Was really glad that I went. Super grateful that I got the opportunity to do a class there, and the event was
Very
cool.
nice.
Yeah, it was a really good overall event. He did a really good job, really good energy, and the people seem to love it. Um, so we titled this "Crafting the Next Level Barber Identity,"
All right.
and I got that idea from the post that you recently did, where you are quoted as saying, "If you are serious and not just curious, then you must adopt the next level barber identity. Until you own the next level barber identity, you will never be able to do the next level barber activities. And until you can do the next level barber activities, you will never have the next level barber lifestyle. Be, do, have."
Yes,
So,
sir.
my question to you is, what is a next level barber?
So actually, I taught on this at the Fort Worth Barber Supply class, and basically, I was saying that everybody wants to, for the most part, they want to be the best barber in their city, or they may have a desire to be the best barber in their city, maybe the best barber in their state, maybe the best barber in the world. Some people have a desire to be, have influence on YouTube or social media. Some people want to travel and educate, things like that. So what I said is, whenever I was talking about the best barber, I said, let's go ahead and define that as the next level barber. So I believe that there is, your average barber who is just satisfied with doing haircuts and going home. And then in our industry, there's a lot of people that want to be that next level barber. So I was talking about, the be, do, have. Before you can do the thing to have the stuff, you first have to become the person. So the next level barber is just that person who wants to take their craft to the next level. Maybe have some things that Marv has in his life.
Right. So what you're saying is basically the person that doesn't just want to cut behind a chair in a barber shop, do fly haircuts. It's the
Yeah,
person that may have a vision of impact in the world through social media, or
absolutely.
doing classes, or create their own brand, or making an impact the same way you are through YouTube. For you, that's what you would consider a next level barber.
Yeah, and it may look different for different people. Some people, they just want to make more money behind the chair and make an impact in their community, whatever that looks like. I mean, just basically taking it to the next level in your mind, how you define success.
Okay. So speaking of defining success, how has your perception of success evolved over your career? What did it look like to you when you first started? What does it look like to you now?
So, my definition of success, I guess when I first started, I did have this idea of, giving the best haircuts. As far as a barber, I thought that was success. If everyone in my community knew my name, and obviously now with social media, we can gain influence by, our gift. However, I think that success for me is now defined by, how many people we can impact. And as you get older, before I used to love cutting hair. I mean, that's what got me up in the morning. That's what, would keep me getting there early and staying late. I just love to cut hair. The older I get, the more your back starts to hurt and things like that.
Your wrists
Uh,
start to hurt a little bit,
I'm
tighten
telling
up.
you, so cutting hair isn't my passion anymore. I do believe it is a tool. It gives me the platform to have the influence that I have, not just on social media, but into people's lives, so I can speak into their lives. It gives me that platform to have one-on-one conversations where I can inspire people and just really try to help them level up in their life. So for me, success is is building up other people. That's what it looks like right now. It's just really, taking the knowledge that I have from, whether it be, learning through books, through mentors, or just life experiences, and helping out the people that sit in my chair, or even people that watch on social media.
I love it, bro. How did it start? Like the whole barbering thing. What got you into it? And how long
So
have you been a barber? You've been doing it for a little bit now.
for a
You
little bit.
kind of seasoned, right?
Yeah. So I've actually been cutting hair for 31 years now, maybe 32. I believe it's 31. And
OG status has been unlocked. Barbers,
yeah,
let
man.
us know how long you've been cutting in the chat.
Yeah, man. So
Shannon's been cutting for over 30 years.
31 years. And so basically what happened, I'm 44 now. I was 13 years old, and I just seen some kids in the neighborhood, and man, they had some busted haircuts. I knew that at 13 years old. I looked at it and I was like, my God, man, who cut your hair? And they said, the barber. And I said, you mean you paid for that haircut?
Mm.
And they said, yeah. So I was just messing around, and I was like, bro, I could do a better haircut than that. And I've never even touched a pair of clippers. So the mother, basically heard that I was talking about it. So she went and bought me a pair of clippers. And when it was time for them to get a haircut, she said, "You said you can do better. Go ahead." And that's where it all started. And I actually did better than the barber. And the reason being, it was such a simple haircut, but just everything was uneven. I mean, the sideburns were uneven, the bangs were crooked. I mean, it was just hair left all on the top, like they rushed through the haircut. So basically, I just did things that I would like for myself. I went over the top several times to make sure all the hair was knocked down evenly. I made sure that the bangs were straight, that the sideburns were level. And anyway, so the mom was like, "You really did better," and so basically that's how it all started. I had kids in my neighborhood that were like, "Hey, can you cut my hair?" And like I said, at first it was just fun, but whenever you're cutting all the kids in the neighborhood, it becomes a job. So whenever the demand was there, I went ahead and started charging a little bit. I think I started like $5 a cut,
Mm.
which at that time the local barbers were charging probably $6-7 a cut. So anyways, I figured I was doing better than they were. I at least deserved $5, and just my influence began to grow, and it just went from there. I was wild in life, so basically whenever I stopped doing illegal things, I was like, man, whenever I gave my life to the Lord, I figured, I got to do something legal now. So I was like, what do I have that I can bring to the table, something I can do legally to take care of my daughters. And anyways, it was cutting hair. So I got my barber license, and it was on from there.
Was that like a difficult transition? Because I'm assuming some of the things you were doing were generating some cash. So to go from generating some cash to maybe you're not really generating as much cash, was that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
challenging?
It was challenging. However, what was more challenging, because I was raised in a small town, and I had a bad reputation. The only place I could get a job at was McDonald's. And basically, I gave my life to the Lord, and I knew I couldn't sell drugs anymore. So, I was like, what can I do? And I put applications out everywhere. McDonald's was the only place hiring. So I went to McDonald's, and that was a humbling experience in my life, because, I used to take people's orders,
Yeah.
uh, but now I'm in McDonald's really taking people's orders. And, whenever you're the local drug dealer, and I had made a pretty big name for myself. I was doing well in that business. To see them pull up to the window and I'm like, "Can I take your order?" That was very humbling. And anyway, so that was a difficult transition. Whenever I was like something, I worked there for 2 weeks, and at that time, I think minimum wage was about $4.25 an hour. So after taxes, for 2 weeks of hard work, that was hard work for me because I never really worked hard before that.
Yeah.
So my paycheck, I believe, was like around $139. And at that time, I had my first daughter. So, I mean, I was like, man, I can't even afford diapers or formula. So, yeah, so that was the challenging part. When I went to barber school right after that, because I was like, I can't do this anymore. For $139 for 2 weeks worth of work, that was ridiculous. So I went to barber school, got my license, and I started working in my uncle's barber shop. In my first day, I think I made about $350 in that just that one day, compared to 139 for 2 weeks. And at that time, it was kind of like, "Whew, okay, I can do this.
Right.
This is okay. It's not the money I was making, but it's legal, and I felt like I could do good with that."
Yeah, man, it's so interesting to see in our industry how many of us have came from similar struggles and similar backgrounds, and challenging times and upbringings and being raised in tough environments. That's one of the reasons why I think this industry is so special. It truly is remarkable how many people can honestly say that barbering changed their life, right?
Absolutely,
And that barbering
absolutely,
saved their life, right?
absolutely.
Because that's what it did for you. I mean, the path you were on, where that path leads, right?
Absolutely.
The money looks good, but when you look down the line, it's like, "Ah, I see where this could go." Was there like a moment where something happened that it was like really a serious wake up call? I know you say you had kids. Was that the wake up call, or did like something wild happen to where it's like, I really gotta figure this out?
So it was a mixture. Obviously, so just a backstory. Whenever I was young, I didn't have the greatest father figure in my life. Without going into details, however, I always knew that I wanted kids. Man, I always wanted to be a father. I don't know if that was because I wanted to prove that it could be done, right. So whenever I had my daughter, it definitely was a wake up call that I need to make a decision. I did not want to be the father, to my daughter that mine was to me. So I was like, you know what? I need to go ahead and do what I need to do to be the kind of father that I need to be. And so for me, I've always been an extremist. I always wanted to be the best at everything that I did. Whenever I was selling drugs, I wanted to be the kingpin,
Mhm.
and so whenever I became a father, I wanted to be the best that I could be. For me, I know myself, and if I'm not committed fully, say, to the Lord, then I know that I'm going to fall back into that lifestyle and do things that I shouldn't do, which is going to affect how I parent. But also, there was a time. So yes, my daughter had a huge part to do with that. But at the same time, there was a time that I got mixed up with some very big people. I'm trying to use the right
Yeah.
words
So
here.
people that don't play.
Yeah, exactly. So I
Yeah.
got mixed up with some of the people who do not play.
Yeah.
And excuse me one second, my watch keeps going off. But yeah, I got mixed up with some people who do not play. And and we were very close. I actually, the guy who I was connected to in this organization, he was talking to a woman who was like a mother to me. And so I was always just coming around and kind of smoking them out, and I didn't know what he did. And then one day he approached me and asked, how much I was getting pounds for and keys for. And anyways, I told him, and he said, "What if I can get you a better deal than that?"
Mm.
And anyways, I was like, "It's impossible. I got the best deals there are." And anyways, he actually could get a better deal. So anyways, I was at this place where, I was just focused on making the money. And basically one day, um, I felt like I started hearing the voice of God. I just had that loud internal voice saying, "It's time to get out now." Like I just felt like something bad was going to happen. I don't know if that was the voice of God. I'm sure it was. It could have been instinct or whatever. I just felt like something bad was going to happen. And I just got in this place where I kept saying, "God, just let me, I don't have an education, this is all I know how to do. So let me just flip this. And once I flip this, man, I'll be set for a while. I can, pursue other things." And basically, every time I would flip it, I was like, "Let me just flip it one more time. I
Yep.
promise God, after I flip it one more time, I'll
Yep.
be set for a good long time, and I'll stop." And I did that several times. And basically, uh, I had sold out of everything. So I went to re up. I invested every dime that I had because in my mind, I'm going to flip it one more time and I'm going to be done. So I put all this stuff in my safe in my house. And whenever I left to go actually pick up a little bit more money, not a whole lot, but just a little bit that someone owed me. And whenever I got back to my house, my front door was open. And anyway, so I walked in, went straight to the safe. It was wide open and everything was gone.
Mm.
So basically, I hit up, my guy, and I told him what happened. And he was like, "No, it ain't no big deal, man. Just you've been good to us. Just tell us what you need, and we'll front you whatever you want." So I told him, and basically, I just heard this voice, man, that was like, "So you've been telling me that once you flip this, you're done, and you keep telling me the same thing. So now I've gotten you out of it, and you're going to get back into it." And so So then I was like, this inner struggle. And I
Hmm.
said, God, I'm all right. I'm done. I said, the only problem is, how do I disconnect from these people? Usually you don't just leave.
Right. It ain't just
Whenever
like,
you,
all right, guys, I'm done. Peace.
yeah, yeah, yeah. When you get on that level, it's like, yeah, you can't do that. So I felt like God was just like, just do what you got to do. I'll take care of it. So I called him up and I said, listen, man, um, I said, I want to just go ahead and get out. And he said, for what? And I said, well, number one, I have a daughter that I just had. I want to do right by her. I said, number two, I said, I don't know, this might not make sense to you, but I said, I have pastors all in my family. So my grandmother and grandfather, they are praying people. My mother's a praying woman. And I said, dude, I am losing my mind. I am so miserable. I'm so empty. And I feel like God has been telling me it's time to get out. So I said, I'm just going to give my life to God, man, and be done with all this. And he just said to me, I got a praying grandma as well. I understand. That was the last I talked to him.
Mm.
About a week later, uh, at the house that we always chilled at, a couple guys ran in there with masks on and shot the place up, shot him several times in the chest. And anyway, so I don't know, man. I could have been there at that time if I wouldn't have got out. Like I said, I knew something bad was going to happen. I didn't know if it was, death, prison. I didn't know what it was. But when that happened, it kind of just reassured me, like, man, like you heard from God, and and God was watching out for you. So yeah, that's kind of what got me out of that.
Yeah, man. It's hearing all of that is powerful, right? Right. That's powerful, and it's easy to understand now. While why you're just so grateful and thankful,
Yeah, yeah,
because I'm sure you have plenty of moments in your life where you look back and you were like, man, some of the stuff I was
man,
doing,
dude, I
some of
could
the
tell you
places
stories.
I was,
Yeah, there
you
was a
know.
time. There was a time, and this is one of the things too that I realized. Like, man, this isn't the life that I really need, because it doesn't just affect me, but it affects everyone else. There was a time when basically this biker gang or whatever showed up to my mom's house, and the guy knocked on the front door with gun in hand, and he said, is your son Shannon Kraft? And she said, he is. And he basically said, well, I want you to go ahead and let him know when I see him I'm gonna kill him.
Mm.
So yeah, so then she called me and she's like, son, please get out of town, and that was an interesting situation. So I've experienced some wild stuff, man.
Yeah. Has there ever been that moment where you're like, you just really are wondering why you, like, because I'm sure you've known some people that have not been as fortunate to be able to get out and are on a path like you're on now. They didn't make it, right? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
whether they're under the dirt or they're behind the bars.
yeah.
Has there ever been a time in your life where you sit there and think like, why did I get spared? What was the purpose of me? Why am I still here? How did I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
so
yeah.
lucky? You know?
So I believe that we all have a purpose, man. And I believe with all my heart that God speaks to all of us. I just think a lot of us aren't listening. I had the opportunity to get out earlier, but like I said, I just kept, one more time, one more time, one more
Yeah.
time. And fortunately, I was able to get out, before anything went really, really wrong. So I feel like that, God speaks to people. For example, I had a really close friend of mine. His name was Popsy, and Popsy was actually the biggest drug dealer, like when it comes to crack at that time. And Popsy, I don't know if you know anything about South Florida and the Everglades and all that stuff. Well, there was a sheriff named Sherman Dice, and Sherman Dice actually was like the kingpin. He was the one flying in all of the coke from like Colombia and stuff, and they would drop it off in the ocean. And he had fishermen, and some of those fishermen were friends of mine. That the fishermen would go out in the boats, and then they would pick up just like loads of coke and all this stuff, and they would load it up and bring it back. And anyway, so Popsy was kind of the man in my hood, and so basically, he was getting coke from the sheriff, and he was cooking it, and man, he was just killing it in the crack game. I mean, my man had semi trucks. I mean, everything you could want, he had it. And anyways, whenever the sheriff got arrested, he obviously began to flip on everyone, and Popsy was one of those people, and he went away for quite some time. And then whenever he got out, I was wilding, and
Mhm.
basically it was right before I gave my life to the Lord, and he would always talk to me and just be like, Shannon, man, like you need to give your life to God, and you've seen what I've experienced in my life, and I'm just here to try to steer you away from that. And one time he looked at me and I was high as a kite, dog. I mean, like eyes bloodshot, and he looked at me and he said, Shannon, can I tell you something? And I said, what's that, bro? And he said, man, you got preacher eyes. And I was like, preacher eyes? Like, dog, I'm high as a kite right now, anyways. And so he said, you know how I know that? I said, how do you know that? And he said, because I have preacher eyes too. And he said, man, I'm going to be the next TD Jakes. And he was just going off. And anyways, I was like, all right, that's cool, whatever. Probably about a week later, I ended up giving my life to the Lord, because as he began to, minister to me, it began to, just really sow that seed in my life. And then with all the situations I was going through at the time, I just felt like, man, this is the right thing to do. So I gave my life to the Lord. I went back out to the hood where I was from, and I started telling people, like, I gave my life to the Lord. And all of a sudden I see, man, this back then, the Infinities with the pearl paint job, whatever, the 929, 626, all that stuff. Anyways, I seen this brand new, car pull up with the rims. And man, I mean, like, we used to say they had gorillas in the trunk, just beating down, boom, boom. And I was like, man, who is that? And my boy said, that's Popsy. I said, where'd he get that car from? He said, man, he got back into the game, and it's only been like, a few days, and he's already like killing it, which he had all the right connections, So anyways, I went over there to him and I was like, Popsy, man, what are you doing, bro? Like, why'd you get back in? You're sitting here preaching to me. So I started preaching to him. I was like, man, you need to give your life to the Lord. You're going to be the next Bishop TD Jakes. And he's like, Shannon, man, I don't want to hear that right now. So God was speaking to him, but he decided not to listen. Right. And anyways, a short time later, his sisters, who were like family to me, they started hitting me up, and they were, just like, hey, have you seen my brother? And I said, no, I haven't seen him. So anyways, everyone in the hood was looking for him. No one could find him. To make a long story short, they end up finding his body in trash bags, cut up. I mean, and then the head was missing because the person who did it, which they end up catching, cut his head off and went out into the woods and threw his head in a creek. So anyways, I think about that, and he was always like, someday I'm going to be the next Bishop TD Jakes. So he had it in his heart, God was speaking to him, but basically, the Bible says, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today,
Right.
and I think that's a problem. A lot of people hear God speaking. They know they need to make a change. But, we're not promised tomorrow, man. So, um, he had good intentions, but he didn't follow through with it. And I think that's the challenge that a lot of us face.
Yeah, and we're grateful that my man Shannon. They said the S in S craft stands for Scarface. Uh, we're grateful that you figured out a way to get out of all that. I look at my life, and I never got heavily involved in that world.
Yeah,
But when I was young, the area I lived in was rough, right?
yeah,
And a lot of that was going on, and I got to about 12 years old, and my parents decided that we were going to move out of that city, move to another one. They put me in a different school and all of that. And I was sad, and, I had to relocate, had to make some new friends and all of that. But looking back at it now, I always tell my parents I'm so thankful that they relocated, man,
yeah,
because the
yeah,
people that I was rocking with back then were heavily involved, are heavily involved in gangs.
yeah,
Some of them are gone, some of them are locked up. And just like you were saying earlier, I'm just wired different, bro. I'm a natural born leader. I always want to be the best. So if I'm running around with this crew of people who are all now involved in this world,
Yeah,
I'm going to be involved in that world. And I'm not
absolutely.
just going to be, I'm not just going to be the average Joe in that world. I'm going to do what I need to do to climb the ranks in that world,
You'd be
So,
like gangsters instead of
bro,
bar.
like, yo, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So who knows if they didn't make that move? Who even knows if I'd be here today or if I,
yeah,
where I would be? So I'm just super grateful for that. But it's just so powerful to hear that from you because it's super inspiring, man. Like somebody said earlier, this industry is so forgiving, and that's why we love it. To
yeah,
be able to hear stories like that and see what you've been able to build, how what you've been able to do in your life, the positive impact you've been able to make on people, the food you've been able to put on your table for your family, and it's amazing to witness. And with all that being said, to all of you guys on here, I know all you guys got stories too. I seen some of them coming in earlier, and I'm sure you guys got some stories, man. And I know there's a lot of beginners on here too, or that are going to watch this that got some stories who are now entering this industry, and there might be that part of you that's tugging on you to maybe continue doing what you've been doing. But I'm hoping after this conversation, you guys can get some really good insight and some perspective to help you guys stay on the right path.
yeah.
Because I'm sure Shannon could definitely speak to how challenging that is, especially at first. I mean, he spoke on it a little bit earlier, and I'm sure he can speak on it forever about how much that internal battle could be. But just stick with it, man, because
Absolutely.
you see where these certain paths could take you. Um, Speaking of like learning lessons and stuff, man, as a barber, was ever a time where you learned like some like a super valuable lesson from like a client um, that ultimately shaped the way you approach barbering, approach your customer service, approach your business? Is there? Can you reflect back to maybe when you first started, something that you learned that helped you be a better overall barber?
You know what's crazy, man? Like I'm a note taker. So I'm a studier, and I study obviously books and mentors and things like that, but also study people. I like to watch their behaviors and basically what that produces in their life. And anyway, so I've learned so many lessons from people, and I write down a lot of times. I write down principles, life principles that I learn and that I choose to live by because of conversations that I've had with people. um, Also, there again, just reading or watching people and just seeing the outcome. Obviously you can see people who, as they live their life, they're successful. They're doing things that's making a difference. And then you see other people, man, who just can't get it together and they're always struggling. And for me, I like to sit back and watch those kind of people and kind of see what those things produce. So I'm always learning from people. I'm trying to think of something, very specific. However, I mean, I have a whole list of things that I keep, just always in front of me. I could share some of those with you that
Yeah,
I feel like I've
absolutely.
learned over the years. Just but they're principles that I try to live my life by, that I believe has brought me to this place that I'm at today. So I can go all day on these kind of things, just because, like I said, I write them down all the time. But my first thing, I believe that first of all of us have a purpose. And whenever you were created, you weren't created to isolate. We were created for community. Everything about you and everything about your purpose has to connect with someone, right? So if it's barbering, we will never be that next level barber I was talking about if we do not have the clients to service. So one of the biggest things that I live my life by is serve others, man. So serving others simply means solving other people's problems. And what's so amazing about having a mindset of serving others, I said in an interview with your boy Donnie, that serving will serve you well. And I've
Mhm.
found that out in my life. And I've seen that, there again, I've seen people who are just have such a servant's heart, but then I've also seen people, that are just, man, they only want people to serve them. And those people never, I've never seen them elevate in their life. There's another thing that I'll often say when it comes to serving others is if serving is beneath you, then leading is above you. You'll
Mm.
never be able to lead if you cannot serve other people, because that's what leadership is. It's serving other people. It's helping them get to where they need to go. Um, and I've come to realize that a lot of people, they want to be served. However, whenever you're willing to serve someone else and you are willing to humble yourself to help solve other people's problems, humility always brings exaltation. Let me say this, man. A lot of people look at me and they know that I've been a pastor for years. Right now, I'm just focused on pastoring people in my chair. However, they'll say, well, he's a religious man, and I want to just clarify something. I'm not a religious man. Religion is man's attempt to work for God's approval. I don't believe Jesus died to give us a religion. I believe he died to give us a relationship with God. I do not believe that the Bible is a religious book. I believe it's a book of wisdom. It's a book of life principles. And if we will apply those principles to our life, we'll get the results God promised. So saying that, I do quote a lot of scripture, and it's not because I'm preachy. It's not because, I'm trying to, you serve whatever God you want to serve. I'm just saying, for me, this is how I came into a relationship with God. And there again, when I read the book, I'm not trying to get a religion out of it. I'm trying to say, God, what is the wisdom you want to show me, and how can I apply these principles to my life? And that's whenever I believe that you see change. And 99.9% of the leadership books in the world that I've read all quote from the Bible. Why
Yeah.
is that? Because it's a book of wisdom. And I would encourage everybody, if you want to, grow in your leadership, if you want to grow in your identity, knowing who you are, you need to get in that book, right? So I've learned life principles from that. And the Bible talks about, whenever you humble yourself, you will be exalted. And, a lot of people say, oh man, Shannon, he's a humble dude or whatever. Man, I try to be, because I believe, number one, I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for God, if it wasn't for surrounding myself with the right people. It's the relationships that I have. But also, the Bible also says that pride comes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. I've seen people that walk around that are prideful, that they want to say that they're the goat and they're the best. Those are the ones that are usually falling. I don't ever want to claim to be the goat, man. I'm not a goat. I'm a servant. Matter of fact, if anything, I'm a lamb. Some people say, you don't want to be a lamb, or a sheep, but I'm a sheep. The Bible says that one day the goats are going to be on his left hand side and the sheep are going to be on his right hand side. And anyway, so like, I know a lot of people say goat, and I understand where they're coming from, and I appreciate it. But I don't want to be a goat, man. I don't want the glory to myself. I always want to point, to God. I want to point to my team. I wouldn't be the man that I am there again without God, and without the people that I surround myself with. My beautiful wife, my daughters, man, they're so encouraging. But anyways, back to I just wanted to clarify that. But anyways,
Yo,
I believe.
Barbers, drop some gems in the chat. Y'all need to flood the chat with gems because Shannon's going off right now, bro. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, you're
I need
good,
to,
brother. You're
because
good.
I see the comments starting to come in. I need them to flood the chat because you're going in right now. But continue on with what you were saying, bro.
So yeah, so there again, serve others, man. Serve others. Serving others, there again, simply means solving other people's problems. And a lot of people ask me, how do I discover my purpose in life? Well, first of all, your purpose is to solve problems. And before I go any deeper into that, let me just say, uh, business. What is business? Business is simply a financial exchange for solving someone else's problem. And the greater the problem that you can solve, the more money you make. Whenever you look at McDonald's, for example, where I worked, I was making 4 $25 an hour, minimum wage. Why? Because I was sweeping the floor.
I worked at
Anyone,
Burger King. I was making $6 an hour just
come
to
on,
add
man,
into that.
making more money than so. But so the reality is, anyone can sweep a floor for the most part, right? But the person running McDonald's, they make a whole lot more. Why? Because the greater the level of the problem that you can solve, the more money you make for that. So, anyways, I found out that money is attracted to problem solvers. If you solve problems, money comes, right? A lot of people do not like the fact that I do color enhancement. They don't like the fact that I do hair fibers. And I'm okay with that because I'm not here for them. I'm here to solve a problem for the people that want that problem solved. So for me, it's not about, I'm an old school barber. I've been doing this for a long time. And I could easily get caught in that mindset of a lot of barbers like, man, you're messing the game up. This ain't true barbering. But the reality is, man, there again, I'm not here to cut hair. I'm here to solve problems. And if cutting hair, can help me solve a problem for someone else, hey, praise God for that. But I look at the problems that people have. Most of my clients, they love color enhancement. They love hair fibers. Even some have come to me because their barber would not do color enhancement hair fibers. And for them, they're battling with insecurities because maybe their lines are weak, they got a bald spot, whatever the case may be. So with that, I'm saying, how can I solve this person's problem? So that's how I got into color enhancement and hair fibers or whatever. But going back to people asking about purpose, they say, how do I discover my purpose? If your purpose is solving problems for other people, which is what it is, your purpose will always involve solving other people's problems. This is how you discover your purpose. Solve the problem that you're qualified to solve closest to you. So if it's simply, I'm always looking for problems I can solve. Whenever I walk into a room, if I see a gum wrapper on the floor, you know what? That's a problem I can solve. So I bend over and I pick it up. I might stick it in my pocket or walk over and throw it in the trash. But I realize that if I'm just willing to look for problems that I can solve, that I'm qualified to solve, that I have the capacity to solve, then that will lead me to other problems. And there again, I believe the Bible is a book of wisdom, not a religious book. But I look at stories and I try to find the principles in Scripture. So I see this story of this young man named David. David was a shepherd boy. And basically, at this time when he's serving as a shepherd, we know the story, or a lot of people know the story of this giant called Goliath. And Goliath was part of the Philistine army. And he was a massive dude, some say 8-9 foot tall. And, anyways, he was out there threatening the children of Israel. And in this, going back and forth, the children of Israel were scared out of their mind to fight this dude. So David, though, he's out there just being a shepherd. He really doesn't know what's going on. He knows his brothers went off to battle, but he's just focused on solving the problem closest to him. His father needed someone to watch the sheep. He said, hey, Dad, I can solve that problem for you. So as he's solving that problem, the Bible says that a lion came up and basically was coming to, devour the sheep. And supernaturally, he was empowered, and he grabbed that lion by the mane and he ripped him, just like, I guess, broke his jaw or something, but he killed the lion. So listen, he was solving a sheep problem, which then led to a lion problem. And then he took care of the lion problem. And then a bear problem came along, and then he killed the bear. So he began to have these victories when no one was around and no one was watching him, which is another life principle. I believe that you've got to win victories in private before you can have public victory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So God always wants to create us. He's not worried about our destination like many of us think. We feel like, we're just so focused on the end goal, man. We're focused on the destination. We're focused on the big house and all this stuff. God's more focused on building you than building your influence and your platform and your big house and your bank account. God is more concerned with building a big person. And anyway, so in this, he does that oftentimes. He doesn't want to put us on a platform that we're not ready for. So we have to do these things, you know, in private. I was listening to you. I want to say that it was, I don't know who you were talking to, but I was listening to an interview, or maybe it was just you speaking, and you made, you know, this statement. You said it's cool whenever you're willing to step out and do a live. I think it was just a video you shared, maybe teaching a class, and you said, you know, at first you might get 3 viewers and no one's really watching. And you said, thank God for that,
Right.
because it gives you that time to mature. It gives you that time to find your voice. It gives you that time to get more comfortable, you know, teaching or behind a camera or whatever the case may be. And I feel like that's life, man. God gives us this time to prepare ourselves when no one's looking, and he wants us to experience those victories behind the scene, and then and you're becoming the person, like I said, who can do the thing, that can have the stuff. Now, David couldn't step out and kill a giant until he first solved a sheep problem, solved a lion problem, solved a bear problem in private. And then one day his dad comes to him. Now, listen, at this time, there was a prophet who came and lined all the brothers up and basically said that we're anointing the next king. And God said that one of your sons is going to be the king of Israel. And they went down, all the sons basically came to David, who was the youngest. He was overlooked and all that good stuff. But God said, this is the one. And God anointed him as king, but he didn't go to the throne immediately. He was anointed as king, but then went back to watching sheep. And, you know, a lot of times, man, people have this idea like, I'm the man, you know, like people see potential in you. And then all of a sudden, when someone speaks over your life and says, man, I see the potential that you have, man, you're qualified to be the next big thing or whatever. Many people, they want to go jump right on a stage instead of go back to tending sheep, right? Go back to sweeping the hair up at the shop. And anyway, so he went back, and then his father came and said, listen, your brothers are out on the battlefield. I need you to solve a sandwich problem. He could have said, man, I'm going to be the next king. I'm big dog, man. Like, sandwich problems are beneath me. I'm not a delivery boy. But he said, Father, I can solve that problem. So there again, I can solve your sheep problem. I can solve your lion problem. I can solve your bear problem. You want me to be a delivery boy? I can solve that problem too. And as he began to solve problems that he was qualified to solve closest to him, then it led him on the battlefield, and he sees the children of Israel, man. They're just shaking in their boots. They're hiding. And this giant is out here cursing the armies of the living God. And he looks around and he says, man, ain't nobody gonna step up and do anything about this uncircumcised Philistine. Like, come on, like, somebody get up and do something. And you know, everybody was scared to death. And he was like, you know what? Because he had private victories, he said, hey, God God was on my life. He was with me when I killed the lion, when I killed the bear. And he's like, I'm going to do the same thing to this giant. Because he had private victories, he had a confidence that was built up. And then when he stepped on the platform in front of everyone, when it was time to perform, he knew that he could handle this. And anyways, he basically, you know, stepped up, told the giant what he was about to do to him. That's right. And anyways, my man, he took 5, you know, smooth stones, the Bible says. First one, bam, right between the eyes. And then once my man fell to the ground, he went and took Goliath's own sword out of its sheath, cut his head off, walked around. And what's so cool about that, there again, the Bible's a book of wisdom. If you look at the life principles, it'll change your life. What's so cool is when David stepped out speaking to Goliath, he said, this day, he said, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to cut your head off. And then, you know, basically, we're going to feed you and your armies to the fowl of the air. What's so cool about that is he had a vision. He had a vision of seeing himself accomplish this thing. And we know that, you know, if you don't have a vision, you're not going anywhere, right? So he had this vision first, but then he also declared it. And how do we know that he had a vision? Because David didn't have a sword. He had a slingshot. He had some rocks. He said, this day I'm going to cut your head off. So the vision that he had was, I'm going to hit you with this rock. I'm gonna
Hmm.
go over and take your sword. I'm gonna cut your head off, and then basically we're gonna kill your army and all this stuff. And that's exactly what happened. So he had a vision, but he not only could see it and he had to internalize it first, but he also began to speak it out in faith, and then he acted upon it. And that's a whole nother set of principles that you can live your life by, man. You got to have a vision, then you got to speak that thing, speak it into existence, man. Start putting it out there, and then it will begin to attract the right people to your vision.
Right.
You
And
step.
to add on to that, to piggyback off that a little bit, is once we start speaking that vision out and we start getting clear on our attention, and we know what we're after, uh, the universe, life is going to present us those opportunities that are going to help prepare us for those things that we're asking for. And a lot
Absolutely.
of times those things come to us in the form of challenges, right?
Absolutely.
And roadblocks and detours, and it doesn't come to us in the form like in the way we want it to. Like, we want everything to just come to us easy, but it's like, no, we gotta become the person that we need to become in order to be able to handle the things that we're asking for.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I love when Alex Hormozy was breaking this down in a conversation one time, when he was talking about how to build like the perfect person, right? And he's basically saying, like, if you wanted to create somebody that has unlimited patience, that's very good patience, how do you create that person? They have to go through a lot
Yeah.
of challenges that test that patience, so that patience gets built, right? So
Absolutely.
right,
Absolutely.
so many of the things that we're asking for in life, so many of the things that we have in our vision, these things we want to obtain, guys, you just got to understand that a lot of times opportunity comes to us in the form of struggles and challenges, and they're the things that we need to figure out and get through in order to become the people that we need to become to be able to handle those things, you know.
Absolutely. I got two things I want to add to that. First of all, talking about solving other people's problems or serving others, understand, like, most people hate problems, but the reality is problems pay your bills.
Mm,
I love problems. I love problems because problems, when you're looking to start a business, don't you need to start looking for problems. That's how you start a business. So,
facts.
you know, so what do we do in the haircut business? We are solving a hair problem, right? Dentists solve teeth problems, lawyers solve law problems, landscapers, they solve grass problems and plant problems or whatever. So whenever you look around and you see a problem, I sit down with my girls and I say, listen, if you don't want to work for anyone else, you need to find the problem that you're qualified to solve. What is your passion? What do you do? What are you good at? Whenever you begin to, you know that you have certain gifts and you have certain strengths to solve certain problems, begin to look for those problems, and basically those problems will pay your bills if you are the solution to the problem. Of course, the more excellent you do it, the more money you can receive. But the second thing I want to say is, talking about those problems, is the Apostle Paul. He made this statement. He said, a great and effectual door has been set before me. So he's saying, man, I got the opportunity of a lifetime. But he said, but the adversaries are many. So this is the thing. Anytime God opens up a big door, you want to know how you know it's a God door? Look and see how many adversaries or problems are in front of that door, right? The enemy wants to keep you out of God's best for your life. He wants to keep you from walking through God doors. So the doors, a lot of times, that I'm most scared to walk through, I know that is the ones God's calling me into, and I just have to step up by faith and just say, God, I trust you. I mean, even in this conversation, some people that sit in my chair, they're like, man, you need to do a podcast. You got so much wisdom or whatever. However, I live my life in this place where I don't ever feel like I can do it on my own, and I feel like that's what has helped me to become, the person I am today. Whenever I get ready every morning before I go in, I usually show up about an hour early to the shop. And I like to sit there. I like to clear my mind, and I like to spend time with God. And one of the things that I remind him is that, God, I can't do this without you. I can't cut without you. I can't cut a straight line without you. I can't fade without you. And before this conversation tonight, I said, God, I can't speak without you. I need you to speak through me. There's going to be people on this live that need to hear something that will inspire them, impact their life. I'm not that good of a person. I'm not that sharp, but I just trust that whenever I go live with Marv, that you're going to put the words in our hearts that we need to say to make an impact. And I feel like that takes the pressure off of me and it puts it on God. It's like, God, you got to show up. You got to give me the words to say. And you got to, lead Marv on the right questions to get the right responses and all those things. So, I trust that anytime I'm involved with anything, that God's involved with it. He said he'll never leave us nor forsake us. So if I feel like he's calling me to step into something, I know he's already gone before me. He's made every crooked place straight. And he said, don't be afraid of their faces, man. I'll put the words in your mouth when you need them. So I just say, okay, here I am. Now let's do this. And I trust that he's going to, give us some gems. That's what we're after tonight.
Yes, speaking of gems, if you guys are getting a lot of value from this conversation, if you feel like the man S-Craft Blends is tapped in, he's locked in, God speaking through him, he tapped into that frequency, flood the chat with some gems. Barbers, let us know your thoughts thus far. If you got questions, guys, shoot your questions. We won't necessarily answer them in real time, but whenever I do see questions come in, I put them in my folder for us to tap into. At some point, I see the gems coming in. They're loving it. And guys, if you don't already follow Shannon on YouTube, all you got to do is search up S-Craft Blends and he will pop up. I'll bring up the screen real quick just so you guys can see. Boom. So just S-Craft Blends, he will pop up. He's got a channel, pretty big page. He's continuing to build and he's got a bunch of videos on there. All right. So make sure you follow him there. And also, if you don't follow him already on Instagram, make sure you follow him there too. S-Craft Blends. As you see, my man gets busy. It's so funny because the humility in you is like, I understand why people look at me and call me the GOAT, but I don't want to ever, be like, I get all that. Right. But what's cool is whenever there's a list that pops up and people are like, yo, who are the top 5 barbers you put on your team or, that type of stuff on Instagram. I don't know if you won't be seeing, but the man Marv always throw you on the list, bro. You always
I see that, man. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that, man.
And you know how you got on my list, bro? You got on my list from I was watching something with Basio. This was years ago, and Basio said something about, man, if y'all know who S-Craft Blends is, bro, like I put him up against anybody. It was just probably on a live where he was just snapping on people, and I'm like, let me see who S-Craft Blends is, and I went to your page. And obviously we see this type of stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, my man get busy with the Clippers. And then I started following more of your content and I seen you were deep too, and you're full of wisdom and insightful, and you're just so much more than a barber. So I'm like, you know what? My man, he's on my list too. I may have just heard about him today. This was years ago, but he's on my list too. So I always think it's fun whenever they do those lists. And I'm like, you know what? I shoot out a bunch of names that people are familiar with. Yours is one they're familiar with too, but there are also people who are not sure who you are. And then I'm like, man, S-Craft Blends is a beast. So it's cool to see how good you are with cutting hair, which I definitely want to talk about some of that too. But what I think is even doper is how dope of a person you are and a human you are, and how inspiring you are and insightful you are, because it is so much more than cutting hair when it comes to barbering,
Yeah, man. Talking about the whole GOAT thing, I think the reason that I shy away from that is I learned, years ago that if you live by the praises of men, then you'll die by the praises of men, or excuse me, you'll die by the criticism of men. And what, basically what that means is if we're always waiting for, people to praise us and we live for that, when they don't, or when they criticize us, it'll destroy us, and I've literally had to disconnect from that because for years, man, because I have a desire to serve people and I want to please people for the most part. It's like when you know how we are, man. We're watching, we drop a YouTube video, and man, you might have 100 positive comments, but that one comment, man, it would destroy
Oh,
me.
you
That one
talk about
negative
the
one.
user 22645
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
picture.
And so I had to get to a place, because what I found is, if you if you're so worried about what people think about you, then you'll just stop doing it. So I almost decided to quit doing YouTube altogether, because I was
This
like,
one of your kids right here?
I'm so proud of you, Dad. That's my youngest,
Yeah.
Jada. Yeah, yeah,
What's your name?
Jada. So I have
Yeah, that's
four
my
daughters.
youngest name too, Jada. Shout outs to
Yeah,
you,
so
Jada.
that's right. That's right. I got four daughters: Jasmine, Jalen, Jaden, and Jada.
I
Yeah,
got two, Aliana and Jada. That's
that's
fire.
what's up, man. That's what's up. But yeah, man. So I've just realized, man, that I live for an audience of one. Man, I live to please God, and you know what? Um, People don't like that, sometimes, and you know, I can't please everyone. That's what I've come to realize over the years. I can't please everybody, but I can please God. So that's my focus. And if you are, if you're on this path to try to please God as well, then you might be pleased with my life. If you're not, you might not be pleased with my life. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to stand before men. I'm going to stand before God. And I want to make sure that, I did everything to represent him well. And I put his opinion of me above other people.
I love that. And that's so dope. And it makes life so much easier, man. It really does. Because rather than you trying to figure out how to please everybody, you you're focused on that one. As
Yeah,
long
yeah,
as
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
doing right in their eyes, everything is cool. And it's the same type of thinking I live by. Like a lot of people always are wondering how I deal with going on the stage, right? How do I deal with being up in front of people,
Yeah,
or how do I handle the negative comments, right? And how do I deal with people DMing me saying crazy stuff, the haters and all of that? And it's the same type of thinking. It's like, bro, at the end of the day, I'm human. So yeah, there are times where I could something could get under my skin, or I could feel a little fearful, right?
yeah, yeah,
But for the most part, I know my heart, and I know I'm leading with love. I know I'm going to do my best in whatever I do to empower people and help people and uplift people. And I'm just trying to do right by him.
yeah,
So
yeah,
as long as I know I'm doing my best in those areas, all of that other stuff, it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Let
So
me just
it
say,
makes
man,
life a lot easier
yeah.
operating from that frame.
I want to say, man, you do a phenomenal job at it too, bro. You're awesome at what you do. I appreciate that.
I just lead with love, bro. That's it. I lead with love and I try my best. And I think that's what can make life easier too. When you know in your heart you tried your best.
Yes,
It's
sir.
like you know you tried your best, but you know you can be better at the same time.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? You know you can be better, but you know you gave your best.
yeah,
Right? It's in the book The Four Agreements. I don't know if you've ever read that book. Guys, if you haven't read the book The Four Agreements, read it. It's super powerful book. It's a deeper book, a spiritual book, but one of the four agreements is always do your best and
yeah,
realize that today's version of your best might not be as good as yesterday's version of your best was,
yeah,
or might not be as good as tomorrow's version, right? But as long as you know you're doing your best, that's all you can do.
yeah.
So that's all I try to do, and it makes life a lot easier, bro. I love this quote too. I can't wait to use this because I've never heard this one. If you live by the praise of men, you'll die by the criticism of men.
Yeah,
Because that's so true too, man. Especially when it comes to because a lot of people that follow me want to do content, right?
yeah,
And they
yeah,
want to do social media. And one of the biggest fears is the negative feedback or the criticism or the haters. And whenever I'm sharing insight on that, I'm always saying how if you overvalue the positive stuff or you get too accustomed to the positive stuff, it just makes the negative stuff hurt even much more.
yeah,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah,
So it's almost having to feel indifferent and being grateful for both to a
yeah.
degree, right? And I just love that quote because I'm gonna start having to um, use that quote in all of the different things I do. I want to ask you, I want to talk about some haircut and stuff real quick.
All
I seen you just posted not that long ago. And I agree with you 100%. that your favorite clipper out right now, the best clipper you got is the JRL 20, the JRL Onyx. Do you still feel that way, or has that changed more recently? Because I love that clipper.
So right now, now let me say this real quick. Let me turn around, and I don't know if you watched my recent video, the one I dropped today, but I got some gifts,
Mm-hmm.
which is ridiculous, man. I mean, I opened up this package and I was just blown away. Um, and anyway, so I got the gold clipper. Just unboxed them and did a review. Well, not a review, but I kind of showed everybody what I had. I got the gold trimmer, and these are all the
Your wife showing you love,
FX1.
by the way. I just hope you could see that.
So
Shout
thank
outs
you.
to wifey. She's showing you some love, man.
I love you, baby. Thank you so much.
I love the family, bro. You
Dude,
already know that's what it's about. More than
dude,
this
I'm so
barbering,
blessed,
more than
man.
this clippers, more than all of that. It's all about the family, man. That's dope.
Dude, I'm so blessed. I have such an amazing support system. My wife and my daughters, they are my biggest cheerleaders, man. They're amazing. So, but I got this shaver here as well. So I got the whole set of that. They sent me the FX1 Low Pros. They sent me those.
Yeah.
And dude, they sent me 6 different things, man. I am blown away. And
That's fire, bro.
I mean, that's such a blessing. So I've been wanting to give these a try. Basio got a pair. They cut great. His were a little bit louder. And
Mhm.
speaking with Dennis, he was saying that um, that those actually were like pre-production stuff that he put together by hand. So he was like, it's not going to be the same as what will come from the factory. So anyways, like at this point, because I haven't tried these yet, the JRL Onyx are my favorite clippers up until this point. I mean, JRL is doing a phenomenal job, man. I think that the old JRLs, I liked them, but there was just something off. It just seemed like it just wasn't working for me.
What, the
They,
2020 Cs?
yeah, the original 2020 Cs.
I feel like
And,
they just didn't have that crunch. I think the Onyx has that like that crunch now.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was just something I just was like, I'm not feeling it. I loved everything about it. The same thing I told him with the trimmers. It was like I love everything about the trimmer. They just don't hit. And it was kind of the same way. I don't know what they did, what all they changed, but whenever I, picked up those Onyx clippers, totally different, man. It's just a different cut. And man, they're so smooth and so quiet and the battery life and they stay cool from my experience and I use them all day long. So
Bro,
right
they
now they
don't
are
have
my
a
favorite.
flaw. That's the thing. That with they don't have a flaw. When you think about whatever could be something where it's like, all right, either they're not powerful enough or the battery life is not good enough. Like everything else is great, but the battery is not good,
Yeah.
or they're too heavy,
Yeah.
or there's always something with a clipper. I feel like where
Yeah.
everything else could be great, but there's always one thing. I
Yeah.
can't identify that one thing with the Onyx. Do you have
Now
one thing? Because I don't
I
see a
don't.
flaw with them.
I don't. However, I have talked to other people. One person in particular, and he's like, I love them. He said, I just hate the ergonomics. And for me, I love the
I love
ergonomics.
that.
Yeah. They feel great in the hand. I mean, yeah. I right now, there again, I haven't got a chance to use any of these. I will take them to the shop tomorrow and start working with them, and I'll give my opinions or whatever.
Yeah.
However, I've never used a clipper that good before.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think
I,
if
I
I'm
feel
gonna
like I can
say
say
there's a
that.
con, I think I said it in the video. I don't think this is a con, but maybe the thing that may throw people off is I think the measurement of the open to close, right?
Yeah,
Because if you're so used to using a wall magic clip or something,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then you use the JRL, the open to close is a little bit longer on the JRL than the magic clip, so that could take some time to get used to. So I feel like if you don't want to get used to that, or you don't have the patience to get used to that, maybe that could be a little weird because your haircuts might look a little different at first. But
So
for
that's
me, once I got used to that, now I love that even more because it gives me more wiggle
yeah.
room for fading.
So that's interesting that you say that because that was my original problem with the 2020 Cs is I felt like they opened up too much, but I was always using wall seniors.
Yeah.
So as soon as I went from Wall Seniors and tried the JRLs, it's like it's throwing me off. It just opens up different than what I'm used to. However, I started using more of the master blade with stretch brackets and all those things on all of my clippers, even the instincts with the stretch bracket and the master blade. So I don't know if switching over there, it didn't feel uncomfortable to me using the masters or master blade, and then the stretch bracket. So I don't know. Maybe whenever I went back, I didn't even notice that. I thought they fixed that problem. I thought they were normal. So you're saying that they still open the onyx open up more than the walls?
Yeah, I mean, in my
I didn't even
experience,
know
they
that.
do. I
Yeah,
in
yeah,
my maybe I'm tripping. I don't know, but I feel like that could be the only con is if like I'm saying, if you're just so used to one way and then you use it and it's like, man, this ain't working the same because maybe you have a system of cutting and you're trying that same exact system and it's just a little off because the
yeah,
measurements or you know, a little different. Speaking of systems, I want to tap into that real quick too, because obviously we're showing love to JRL. Baby, let's make
yeah,
some quality products as well. There are a lot of really good clippers on the market. You're a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
YouTube clipper reviewer person. You already know there's so many great clippers. But I got a lot of beginner barbers that tap into me, that pay attention to what I'm doing, and they're always trying to figure out which way to go. And when
Yeah.
you're new in the game, which it with me being 12, 13 years in now and you being 30 plus years in, sometimes it's hard to really remember what it was like when we first started out, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even with us first starting out, we didn't have all of these options. When
No,
I
man.
started, we had Wall and Andis, and then
That's
there was
right.
the
That's
fast
right.
feeds. That was
That's it.
from my world. It's
That's
probably the
it.
same
That's
for
it.
yours, right?
Yeah.
But so now with people coming into the industry and they got all these options. They got Babyless, they got JRL, they got Gamma, Stylecraft, the TPOB. They got all of these clippers. Um, what would your advice be to them? And what I really would like for you to speak about is the idea of you said something along the lines of tools don't matter, systems do.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, tools matter too, but the bigger point is that you got to have a system because once you have that system, um, pretty much any clipper you're going to be able to pick up,
Yeah,
you're going to be
yeah,
able to get busy with. So, what would
yeah.
your advice be to these beginner barbers looking at all these clippers, trying to figure out which route to go?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we've done the Walmart Clipper Challenge and all that good stuff, and basically, you're going to get a blurry fade regardless of what clipper you use if you have the right systems and you've developed a barber's eye. It doesn't matter what the quality of the clipper is, in my opinion. If you don't have a barber's eye, you're going to get the same results that you would get, with a cheaper clipper. I would say, find something that you're comfortable with that works for you as far as, price range. I think a lot of us started off with Walmart clippers because we could not, I mean, years ago, because we couldn't afford the Wall Seniors, or the Andis Masters.
Which are
Um,
still great clippers even to this day.
Absolutely, absolutely, corded and all, cordless, cordless, whatever. So I would say just find something that feels good in the hand, that you feel comfortable with, and then maybe stick with it. Something I see, we have quite a few people that join our team at Headlines that are just right out of barber school, and I feel like that they believe that if I can get the right clipper, magically the haircut is going to be amazing. I can get a flawless fade if I just find the right clipper.
That's what
And
I
they're
believed when I first
Yeah,
started.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I believed.
So they're chasing this mythical, magical clipper that's going to give them this blurry fade.
And the
The
clipper
clipper
companies
doesn't.
are loving that, by the
Yeah,
way.
they
Those
are,
are
and
loving that.
hey, and I love barber companies and supply people. I'm not trying to take your business.
Yeah,
I love, man. I have almost every clipper you can think of. I love having, tools.
yeah.
So nothing wrong with that. I just wouldn't chase the idea that if I get the right clipper, then it's going to change my fade. I think that you have to find a system that works for you, and then master that system. Whenever you start getting a little bit older, and more experience in the game, a lot of times, man, you get burnout. And that's one of the reasons I change clippers so much. It's not because I used the Wall Senior for years. I mean, years. And and I didn't need to change it. It did exactly what I needed it to do. But because I've been doing it for such a long time, I get bored easily. So I like to try new things. And anyways, but I've already mastered my system. And now, I've, in my opinion, and I use that word very lightly when I say master. I'm more experienced now, not just with the system I use for years, but because I've been bored. I want to switch up systems. I'll
Yeah.
fade up, I'll fade down. Sometimes I just put in guidelines and then I'll come work them. It's like I try to switch it up just to have more fun and challenge myself. But if you want to be effective, you got to find the system that works for you. Realize it's not about the clipper. Just find you a good clipper that works for you, and then develop your barber's eye, man. I think that's the biggest thing. If you have a barber's eye, and we could talk more about that if you want,
Yeah, yeah.
then
So
then
what I will say, because somebody said, "What about the calibers?" They make great clippers too. A lot of these companies right now are making phenomenal clippers, and what is interesting to witness, at least from my perspective, is that with so many great clippers being on the market, how are the clipper companies going to separate themselves?
yeah,
And one of the ways that Babyless is attempting to do it is just what they sent you. They got the
yeah,
detachable
yeah,
batteries, and they're trying to do some cool stuff to see how they can separate themselves because they've realized that okay, well, there are a lot of companies that are competing in the like a lot of companies are on the same playing field when it comes to like power and battery life and cutting ability because there's a lot of really good clippers on the market.
yeah,
So they're trying to separate themselves by being different and creative in that way, which I think is super dope. But I say all that because caliber clippers are good as well. There are a lot of really good clippers on the market.
yeah,
But back to the barber's eye. Now that's something that we develop over time,
yeah,
right? Like when I remember doing haircuts in barber school and doing haircuts in my kitchen and in the basement at my homeboy's crib. And I still got pictures of some of that stuff. Um, and I would be excited. I'd post it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And then I go back and look at it 4 months later, 6 months later, a year later, and I look at it and I'm like, how did I not see that dark spot? How did I not
facts.
see that faint line?
Yeah, yeah,
How
yeah,
did I see that? Not see the edge up is a little off. The beer lines were a little uneven, right?
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
because my eye has gotten sharpened over time. I'm
yeah.
developing the barber's eye. So it happens over time as we continue to cut. My question to you is, what do you think are some things barbers could do to help accelerate that process and speed up that time so that way they can develop that barber's eye quicker? Because I agree with you, that is the main thing, because once you have that barber's eye, don't matter what tool you use. I mean, it does matter, but it also doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Once you have that eye, what could they do to speed up that process?
So I believe with anything in life, anything you want to grow in, there's two ways to learn: mistakes and mentors. And anyway, so I would encourage you. I think making the mistakes and figuring it out along the way takes a lot longer. I think that it's important to have mentors in your life. If I wanted to grow on, my promotion and stuff like that, man, then Marv would be the perfect mentor, right? For social media and things like that. He has already learned things and experience things that I have not yet learned or experienced in the social media side of things. So I would, instead of making the mistakes, I would go to a mentor and that has already made those mistakes and overcome those things so that I can learn from him. I think that's the fastest way. I realized this years ago. I had a guy who was very artistic, and I mean, this guy could draw. Like when he drew something on paper, it looked like it was breathing. So he had an artistic eye. He had the ability I mean, realism, it was crazy. But he wasn't the greatest barber. I mean, his lineups were sharp, but his fades, they needed some work. And one day, and I'm not the person, I don't ever just look over and say, hey man, you need to take care of that spot over there, or whatever the case may be. I stay in my lane, man. I mind my own business. And
Just
if someone,
observe. You're an
yeah,
observer.
yeah, yeah. And if someone asks for help, I'm more than willing to help. However, I don't push my thoughts on people, I guess. So one day he came to me and he said, would you help me. I need help. I feel like my cuts aren't where they need to be. So first of all, he was willing, to have constructive criticism, and he said, "Show me what I'm doing wrong." And I told him, I said, if you are willing to receive the criticism, not like I'm trying to hurt you, but I'm trying to help you, I'll tell you what I see. And I told him, and this has been the greatest way that I've seen it change quickly, as far as going from kind of mediocre to really stepping up your fade game. Um, Basically, I said, listen, go ahead and do the best fade that you can do. I'm talking about where you feel like there is nothing left that you can do, that it is perfect. And then call me over and I'll kind of point out what I see. So he did that. He called me over, and I said, how's it look to you? And he's like, I can't see anything. I mean, this thing is blurry. And I said, okay, well, what about this dark spot right here? What about this line right here? You kind of push that edge back a little bit too much. And anyways, I started pointing stuff out, and he was like, dude, I did not even see that. And that's whenever, and this was probably over 20 years ago now, that I realized, like, man, some people just can't see it. They look at it and they're like, man, this is beautiful. And whenever I pointed it out to him, that's whenever it opened up, let's say, his barber eye. And if you can see it, usually you can figure out a way to fix it.
Right.
But if
Once
you
you can
can't see it,
see it, you can't unsee it. You see it,
that's right.
it's,
That's right.
not gone.
So I would say, so I had, for example, I had a guy hit me up and he was like, hey, can you critique my cuts? I do not critique haircuts on pictures. So I said, I tell you what, we have a open chair at our shop right now. We did at that time because Nate and I just went and started the Sun Lake location, and we were
Congrats.
hiring barbers. Say it again.
I said congrats.
Thank you, sir. And so anyways, I said we have an open chair on your day off. If you can convince some people to drive over here, which is, I think, was like an hour away. I said, and cut their hair here. Once you get done cutting the haircut, I'll come over and show you what I see, and then I'll show you how I fix it. And anyways, I mean, dude, he cut one head. I walked over, showed him what I saw. I said, you see this? You see that? Same thing. Oh my gosh, I never saw that. And then he was trying to fix it. I said, let me show you a quicker way to do that. And I just showed him, my little techniques that I use. And man, the person in his chair, because at first I thought, man, that's got to be kind of weird. You have this person that actually pays you every time they get a haircut.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're sitting in your chair, and you know,
Somebody
I
come
don't know.
over and like helping you. I know what
Yeah,
you
yeah, you know what I'm
mean.
saying? It's one of those situations. I mean, obviously, maybe some people could be embarrassed about that, but whenever this dude turned around and looked at his haircut, he was like, "This is the best haircut I've ever had." He was like, "Thank you so much." And so now this guy just elevated his game. His model that he brought over, which is a client that he cuts all the time, um, now he's going to get a better haircut because he was willing to have someone mentor him. So, not everyone can come to my shop. Not everyone can come to your shop or have that opportunity. But man, find someone in your shop who that you are like, they're next level, right? Ask them to critique your stuff and point out what it is they see that you don't see. Be a, be a lifelong learner, man. Always learn, and anyways, I think that's the best way to go about it. If you don't have anyone in your shop that you can shadow, man, if I wanted to go to the next level, I'd be willing to invest in myself. Man, hit up the person you want to come shadow. If I got to pay for a flight, and a hotel fee or even, money for a class, a one-on-one class, whatever the case may be, I would do what I have to do to step my game up. But if you can't afford that, find someone in your area that you can drive to and just say, is it okay if I shadow you? And I think shadowing is cool, but I really feel like the best way to go about it is you do the haircut, have them critique it and show you in your haircut what they see, and then maybe how to fix it. I feel like that's the best way.
I love that. I think that's a phenomenal advice. That's awesome advice. Another thing I would add to that could be super helpful, which I feel like has helped me and will help a lot of you guys tapped in, is go to any barber battle or barber show you can get to, right?
Yeah.
Like I think there's too many barber battles and barber shows right now, right? There's too many in my personal opinion. But what's cool about that is, especially for you guys being beginners and new, that gives you a lot of opportunities throughout the year to try to go to some of these things, right? And going to these battles and shows like Connecticut Barber Expo and things like that is so dope, because when you're there, not only are there competitions happening on stage where you can watch people cut and see different techniques and just see what they're doing and try to learn just by sight. Aside from that, there are people showcasing and cutting hair all throughout the day, all throughout the event. So as you're walking around and you're looking at the different booths that are set up, there are going to be people cutting hair. And most of the time, they're open to answering your questions. And I can't tell you how many times I've, especially earlier on in my career, when I'm trying to learn, I'd see somebody cut and I'd stand there, I'd watch them cut. They're just getting busy, and I'd start asking questions. Whatever questions I had, I would ask questions. The same thing with the competitions. I'd watch people compete. And if it was a situation where I could ask questions right then and there while they were competing, depending on how I would try to read the room. So if they look like they were struggling and rushing and all of that, I'd leave them alone. But if they're kind of just chilling, cutting, I would ask questions, and say, I seen that technique you did. Why did you do that? Or why'd you use that clipper? Or, I'd ask a question, and I try not to be like overbearing to where I'm just like dragging it, because they still are in the competition, but I would ask questions. Right. So I think that could help you guys as well. Shannon gave you a lot of great advice when it comes to the people in your shop. If you have some people in your shop that can help you, or you can make the drive in your local area. If you have some barbers that are open and helping you, save up some money, reach out to people that you are inspired by, who you think cut really good, and maybe set some up where you do a one-on-one with them, fly to go see them, or make the drive to go see them. Guys, it will change your life. And on top of that, go to any barber battle or hair show that you can get to with the intent that you're going to learn how to cut better. I think one of the big mistakes a lot of people make when they go to these shows, which I've made a little bit earlier in my career, is you go to a show either not having a clear intention as to why you're there, or you go there for the wrong reasons, right? And what I mean when I say that is, there are people, I know plenty of people that have been to one barber show or one barber battle, and when they're there, they try to run up to the Marvy Marv or whoever the influencer is there. The influencer is busy, can't really talk to them, or maybe isn't super personable in person, or maybe just is on a low ego trip where they just got that type of energy where it's almost just like, don't get away from me, peasant, right? So there have been barbers that have gone to the show, experienced that, and then say, you know what, I'm never going to a show again. The barbers think they're all Hollywood. They think they're all important. It's a waste of time, waste of money. They never went back. And by doing that, they've missed out on so many opportunities to learn, so many opportunities to network with companies, with other barbers, to educate themselves overall, buy new equipment, new products. And there's just so many amazing things that could happen by going to these shows. So, I say all that just to reiterate the point that if you maybe have experienced something like that and you're just done with shows, maybe you don't got to go to them all. But if you're trying to get better at cutting hair, just go to some of these battles or shows with new intentions and say, hey, this is what I'm going to go for, and try your best to learn while you're there. You know what I'm saying? Johnny said, facts, Mar, facts. Let's see. I got some other questions for you too, bro. And what I will say to you guys too is we're going to be on this for probably another half hour or so. So if you got questions, shoot them in the chat. I'm putting them in the folder, and I'll make sure that we touch on any question that you guys may have at some point. One question I want to ask you, because earlier you were saying how you do enhancements, you do the sprays, the fibers, and all of that. And obviously, there's that's a polarizing topic, right?
Yeah.
In our industry. My question to you: you're 30 years in now. You're an OG. How do you balance the need to stay current with the evolving trends that come into our industry, while also not getting caught up in the hype of participating in every trend that comes in our industry, right? Because you do have the people that are trying to do everything.
Yeah.
and it starts spreading themselves thin, which, it is cool to agree to try to learn, to a degree, to try to learn everything. But at a certain point, you also realize that you don't need to do everything or learn everything in order to be successful, be fulfilled, and make a lot of money. So how do you balance the two to know to say, all right, I'm going to do some of this, but some of this stuff, maybe that ain't for me?
I feel like that it's important to stay in your own lane, man. And what I mean by that is what you're gifted in and what you're passionate about. I see a lot of people doing some awesome things, and I look at Josh OP. If you're not following Barber Josh OP, man, what an
He's one of the
incredible
best barbers in the whole world.
goodness, man. I mean, amazing. And I look at what he does with his shear work and the sectioning and all that stuff. And and I feel like, because I've cut so many different textures and styles of cuts over the years, that I'm pretty well rounded. However, I don't like using shears. And now the reason being is because when I was younger, I told you I lived a wild life and I fought all the time. I used to love to fight. And, also had
You're a big
anger.
boy, bro. So I feel like you might have been putting in some damage in
I
them
was
streets.
I was putting in some work, but I also had an anger issue, so I punched a few walls and kicked a few dogs and all that stuff.
I feel like you're one
So
of the bigger barbers too, because a lot of us we're short. I feel like barbers are short; they're not really too big, and then you got some size to you.
I feel like I don't know what I look like on screen, but I know whenever I see people in person, they're like, "Whoa, you're a lot bigger than I thought you were."
That's what I. Hey, that's exactly
Yeah,
how I
yeah,
felt when I seen you in Vegas. So
yeah.
with you
So,
fighting on some people, they probably had a tough time.
yeah. So, with my hand though, I don't know if you can see that. I got a big lump on my hand,
Yeah,
and it's just broken bones, man. Just shattered. And I had the opportunity to get it fixed. However, I chose not to because if I was to hit somebody now, it would hurt like crap. You know what I'm saying? So it keeps me in a place where I know, like,
you
hitting
second.
somebody.
You think about it.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
weigh your
It's a
options.
good deterrent, So I keep it that way. However, when I use shears, man, my hand cramps up so bad. So that's why years ago I started doing, the clipper over finger technique.
Yeah.
And some people hate on that. Some people, especially when you're educating, they don't want you to teach on that because they believe that's not the proper way to do it. But it gets the
Wild to me
job
because
done.
haircut and cutting hair is art. It's
Yeah, yeah,
art
yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, if it gets the job done. So,
Yeah.
so with that being said, I prefer, using my clippers to do the work. And because of that, if you see a lot of my clients, they have, tight curly hair, waves, more short styles or whatever. And I like it that way. I prefer it that way.
Mhm.
So just because that's a popular thing and everybody, wants to, use shears, I could care less about it, so I stay in my lane. What do I love to do? And I'd love to do fades. I love to do high tapers. I love to do, short haircuts, and I love color enhancement, hair fibers. So the things that I enjoy doing, I try to stay in line with that. I try to post in line with that. I feel like that whatever you post, is what you're going to get more of. So you rarely see me posting a picture. I might just post something to say, yeah, I can do it.
Right.
But it's not something that you see me post often because I know the more, what I post more often is what I'm going to attract, right? So people scrolling and they're looking for a nice fade or a wave cut or whatever the situation is. When they see my stuff, they're like, that's what I want to get. And that's going to attract those people to me. So I would just say, do what you enjoy doing. There's some people, man, that they love cutting hair fast. um, Man, I would say promote that, man. I can get you in and out, quick with a good quality haircut. But if that's something you enjoy, we have, Mo, we call him Turbo Mo. He loves to just speed through haircuts, and he gives good quality haircuts. But he speeds through it. I'm at the place in my life, and there was a time, man, I was all about that, and I would cut from sometimes 8 in the morning to like 2 o'clock at night, back to back, every 30 minutes. It didn't matter what kind of cut it was.
It's cool.
But yeah, now that I'm a little older, I just enjoy, taking my time. I enjoy the art of it. I enjoy the relationship side of things. So now I'm just building those relationships. And anyway, so I focus on what I enjoy, and I promote that. And that's I don't know if I answered the question, man, but that's kind of
Yeah, no, I
what
mean,
I think.
I feel like you answered it, and I'm similar to you in the sense of with all of that crazy wild UK look sectioning
Yeah,
for
yeah,
45 minute stuff.
yeah.
I ain't trying to do all that either, bro.
No,
Like
I think it's amazing.
it is.
I respect the art of it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not something, Tank was on here earlier. I don't know if he still is, but he put out the South Side, fade challenge. And I think
Yeah, I guess he included me in that too.
I think the response for the most part has been because that is a Texas thing. That's not a
Yeah.
Florida thing.
Nah, I've never
So
seen
it
one of
would
those
be,
in New York.
yeah, it would be hard to find someone to get that, kind of cut. So uh, I there again, I admire the art of it. I just it's not something I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think the main point that Shannon is trying to drive home is that whatever it is that you enjoy to do and what you find that you're really good at, there is a whole big pool of people out there that would love
Absolutely.
to come to you for that. I'm very similar to you where I love doing fades, skin fades, fading like that. I can just fade all day. I just love to do it, you know. But as far as again, all that sectioning and all that stuff is amazing. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
dope to watch and but I'm not doing all of that. I'm just not. And I've
Right.
even had people come in um, asking if we do that or reaching out to me, asking if I do that. And I'm 13 years in now. At this point in my life, I feel like a way that I could be of service and of value. Sometimes it's just redirecting somebody to somebody that I know can do that
Absolutely.
way
Absolutely.
better than me. And there's a few
Yeah,
people in my area that love that and are
yeah,
phenomenal at it.
yeah.
So I recommend them as opposed to me. And people look at me like,
Absolutely.
Marv, how you turning down cuts? And maybe if I'm earlier in my career and I'm still trying to figure stuff out, I'm taking on everything and I'm experimenting and trying to figure out what I like. Cool. It's like, all right, come in, I'm gonna give it my best shot. But now, once I see what I enjoy, I've gotten good at what I'm good at. I feel like me being the best provide the best service I can provide is sometimes saying I'm not the guy for that.
Yeah,
Even some of the stuff in my shop right now, I have one of my barbers is phenomenal at beards. I'm
yeah,
actually working with him more recently to try to get him locked in on his content to like just put more of it out because he's so good at the beard sculpting and all that, right? So,
yeah,
when people have reached out to me with the big beards looking to get in with me, I will refer him. I'm like, listen, man, I can get you in, but we call him the beard king. I said, but I'd
yeah,
rather you go to Shu. He's the beard king, bro. He's gonna make love to your beard. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, I'm
yeah,
gonna do my thing and make it look nice, but bro, he's gonna make love to your joint in a way
yeah,
you've
yeah,
never had it.
yeah.
So, with all that being said, guys, as you are figuring out what you love to do, what you enjoy to do, what makes you happy, your style of cutting, the type of cut you like to do, your way of going about it, just understand that it's okay to get really, really good at what you do and then just market yourself to those people because there's a pool of people, no matter what it is you specialize in, there's a whole pool of people that would be willing to come sit in your chair.
I want to add to that, and then I have to use the restroom real quick. But
Bro.
so I've been killing this water. So there was this woman who she went over to China and she was doing an interview with the coaches of these Chinese ping pong Olympic ping pong teams or whatever. And now I don't know if you've ever seen Chinese ping pong players. Have you ever watched them play ping pong?
Bro, they look like it's out of this world type
It's
stuff, like how
out of this
fast they go.
world.
Yeah.
So the question was like, how do you get them to be so good? This is ridiculous. Like how do you focus on their weaknesses and strengthen their weaknesses? And the coach said something so profound. He said, we don't even focus on their weakness. We focus on developing their strengths. They're already good in this area. They're strong in this area. We want to make them even stronger. We want them to be the best in the area of their strength, right? And a lot of times what we don't realize is if we'll focus on our strength and develop our strength, it often compensates for our weakness. And like you said, I'm not strong at all things. There's certain things I'm strong at, but what I'm weak in, someone next to me is strong in, or someone down the block is strong in. And I feel like that, if we'll be true to, there's nothing worse than really doing something that you suck at. You know what I mean? There's no confidence there. You're beating yourself up, and then it doesn't come out the way you want it to, and then people begin to question your skills. So what I like to do is do what I'm good at, man. There's certain areas that I'm strong, and like you said, man, if I'm not good at that area, send it on down the road, or send it to the person in the shop who loves to do that thing. But it's the thing, if I focus on what I'm strong at and I just continue to develop myself in my strengths, and I promote my strengths, then people begin to look and say, this boy's a beast, man. Look at these fades, look at them lineups or whatever. Those are the things I want to focus on. And I'm stronger in those areas. So that's what I promote. And that's what I really spend most of my time on, trying to take to the next level. So real quick, I'm gonna hit the restroom now.
So with that being said, just make sure I'll mute you. Yeah, here we go. You muted your mic. We're gonna let Shannon use the restroom real quick. What I'll say to you guys is a couple things. Number one, ask a bunch of questions. Just fire your questions, because when he gets back, what I want to do is answer as many questions as we possibly can. So fire your questions. I also want to take some time, since we got a minute. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. I want to take some time. Let me see if I can. Yeah, we'll just leave that like that. That is what it. Wait, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Take some time to mention. Stop by the barber store, bro. All you gotta do is go on my page, click the link in my bio, and it will take you to my landing page if it ever loads. And check out what I got going on over here. I got some free stuff you guys can download. A clientele building tool. I got a how to cut faster free 3-part video series. I also got my store where you can shop for shirts. You can buy hats. You can buy all types of stuff. Hoodies, t-shirts. We got all of this up in there. So make sure you go check some of that out. Pick you up some merch. And when you do buy it, make sure you tag me so that way I can show you some love. And also when you're over there too, for those of you that want to take your content to the next level, that want to use social media as a marketing tool to help you grow your business, your brand, your influence, to connect with people, grow your network, and create opportunities for yourself, check out my interactive social media course, guys. And you can get right to it by going to ismarvymarv.com. You can check out what's included in the course. You can even preview one of the videos if you want to watch. You can see how it's laid out. It comes with all of this. Plus, there's some bonus stuff that it comes with as well. Like you get access to a private page that only course members have access to. You can message me on that page. It's really dope. And you only pay once to join this. You get unlimited access for a lifetime of the course. So it's not monthly. It's not yearly. It's a one-time payment. And you can access it from anywhere in the world, 24/7, and step your content up, your social media up. So come work with me. Check all that out. You can do it at itsmarvymarv.com. Barber. So Shannon is back.
I'm back.
Back refreshed. And again, what I told them when you were headed off was that we were going to take some questions. He said Shannon ain't coming back for a while. He came back pretty quick. He's back. He's back. So guys, ask some questions. And what do you say, Marv? What's that again? It's marvymarv.com. Just go to itsmarvymarv.com and you can check out all of that stuff. All right. So what I want to do, Shannon, is they're going to ask questions, and then I kind of want us to answer them in almost like rapid fire mode, so we can get through as many of them as we can. So hopefully they're asking some good questions and a lot of questions. Guys, while you're asking questions, I also wanted to add just a little hack for the future. When you're tapped into these conversations, watch them on your TV, because what I've come to learn is we all kind of have this little addiction where we like to scroll on our phone a lot. And if you're watching this on your phone, you might get that urge to want to scroll on Instagram or scroll on TikTok or go check an email or do something. And what will happen is, unless you are paying for the, YouTube Premium, it will end the YouTube live, right? Like it will take you off YouTube and now you're on Instagram, now you're on TikTok, and you're missing out on a lot of these gems. Whereas if you were to load up YouTube on your TV or load it up on a computer, you can leave this up, you can watch it, you can keep it on. Then if you feel the urge to scroll on your phone, you can still scroll on your phone, but you're not missing out on the gems. You're still listening, even if it's not consciously, unconsciously, you're still picking up some stuff. So just for future reference for you guys that are enjoying these conversations, start watching them on your TV, watch them on your computer, and leave your phone free, so that way you can scroll. So let's see what some of the questions are. So Ryan says, any tips to speed up my haircuts? I'm taking over an hour on my haircuts, but I'm happy with the results. I think I spent too much time detailing and going over the same areas. What are your thoughts on that?
So what I like to do is I actually wear an apron, and I love magnetic guards because on my apron I have a pocket and I put a big magnet there. That might sound unhealthy. I don't know how healthy that is for a magnet to be that close to your heart. However, I'll put this big magnet on my chest inside that pocket, and I'll just put the main guards that I need, which is usually a half guard, a 1 guard, and a 1.5 guard, and I just have them stuck right there, so I'm not constantly turning around grabbing something. I just pull it right off my chest, put it on, take it off, stick it right back. Also, if you are turning around, what I like to do is I have obviously a whole lot of clippers. I prefer to put everything off to the side except what I'm using that day. I want everything, what I found is if I have a lot of clippers and a lot of guards on my station or a lot of combs or whatever, I take more time trying to find that number 1 guard or that half guard or which clipper am I going for now. I want to, be as organized as possible. I want to limit my options so that way, boom, I'm reaching down, I'm grabbing what I need to do. And I think that saves a lot of time. Also, there again, master your system. If you know what you're doing, I pre-think before I even start cutting their hair. Sometimes even if I know someone's coming in, I'm already thinking, what's the best system for their hair? I'm moving through it in my mind before I ever do it. So once they're in the chair and they're draped, I already know what my first steps are going to be. And then I move through those steps as quick as possible. So that way it gives me time to do more detail work at the end until my next one comes in.
I love it. And one small thing I would add, I could sit here and go on for 10 minutes with some of that. I'm actually going to be doing some, I got some lives coming up, guys. So make sure you tune in where I'm going to be having a conversation with a few of the barbers I know that can put out super dope quality real quick. So they're going to come with a lot of gems. Also go on my page and look at one of the more recent lives I did with John Hall. He shared a lot of different tips when it comes to cutting quicker, because that's the type of barber he is as well. But one thing I would add is do your best to try to only cut the hair once, because we spend so much time going over the same areas way more than we need to. For example, if I'm balding out this area right here, once I bald it out and get it as low as I need to go, I shouldn't ever have to come back to this area again with a clipper. And when we're a beginner barber, and even sometimes seasoned barbers make the same mistake, I'll bald out this whole area and get it nice and clean. I'll check and make sure I got all the hairs, it's clean. Then I'll go on to my other steps. But then as I'm later in the haircut, for some reason, I'm back over here cutting again when, just double checking to make sure I got it all. And it's like, no, I already got it all. So, do your best to cut the hair once, or, as minimal as possible. Use the the guards in the areas that you need to use them. If you're going to bald this out down here, you should not be using a 2 to clean this out, and then a 1.5, and then a 1. You're going to bald it out anyway. So do your best to cut the hair once.
I would also say, go ahead and if you're using your clipper, do everything you can with the clipper while it's in your hand. If you're using your edgers, do that. If you're using your shavers, do everything you can with that, so you're not constantly turning around grabbing a different a different clipper or two all the time.
Love it. Game, gems, barbers. How much do you charge? Now, I know the answer to this. And you're obviously going to tell them, but is it possible in your short answer to be able to explain how you got to where you charge? Because there's so many people, especially nowadays with this internet stuff, they see some of these prices people are saying they're charging. Number one, they're not even confirming if it's actually true, because what people fail to understand, most of us fail to understand, is the internet is shock value and entertainment, and and we could just say anything on the internet, so there are a lot of people that are just saying things just for the shock value and the engagement, right?
Yeah.
Number one. But then what also is cool is there are people that are charging some really good prices, like what Shan is charging. But I think what's getting lost is a process to get there. So could you share a little bit of insight on that?
So I charge $100 a haircut. Whenever I moved to Tampa, I started just like everybody else started. It was a brand new shop. We had no clientele in the shop, and the prices of the shop were $20 a haircut, 25 haircut and beard. That was around 7 years ago. I actually, when I wanted to increase my price because I honor authority, and that was the price the leaders set in the shop, I went to Basio and I said, "Listen, brother, I think it's time for me to go to my own place." And he was like, "Why?" And I said, "Well, I want the freedom to be able to charge what I want to charge and set my schedule the way I want to set it. And I don't want to cause issues in the shop." And he was like, "Listen, man, you charge whatever you need to charge. You've earned it. Come in when you want to come in, all that good stuff." So because I had been faithful, there on the team and honoring authority and all that stuff, they gave me the opportunity to start raising my prices. So basically what I did was, whenever I started getting people in the chair, I would do my best to lock them in, but I wasn't just trying to lock them in, for the next week or every other week. I would try to lock them in for the whole year. And at first, a lot of people, they were not wanting to book out because I had plenty of openings. So I knew that I needed to create, more demand so that I could really push people into booking out for the year, and them believing that was a good idea, because if they didn't, they wouldn't get in. So if my book is wide open and they know they can make an appointment anytime they want, what I begin to do, the Bible says, "Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." So I thought, how can I get people to book out? So what I begin to do is go through my schedule. And if I had a couple hours free that day, I was still taking walk-ins at that time. So what I would do is, I would look at, the week, and I would say, okay, Friday's got a couple hours open. Wednesday has a couple hours open, and I would block that time off, and I would make that my appointment, and it might be, I just put Shannon's appointment. So that way I really do have an appointment there on my schedule. I don't have to tell people it's my appointment. But they would say, "Man, you don't have any openings." And I could, because that was my appointment, I'd say, "Dude, I'm booked out, man, but I'll see what I can do." Now, the cool thing is, because I was taking walk-ins, even if I blocked off on that time and no one could make an appointment for that time, I could still make money taking walk-ins. But what that did is it gave the perception that I was booked out in advance. So then every time people would begin to hit me up, and they would say, "Man, I looked on your schedule, man. You don't have an opening for like a month." Well, I created that demand, and there again, I would always give them my cell phone, and I'll be like, "Listen, man, I know that I get booked out. However, here's my number. Hit me up. I'll do whatever I can to make sure I can work you in." And now that may be, uh, shrinking down my appointment to give them an appointment. But when they looked at my book, I was fully booked. So then I was really pushing this idea, like, "Listen, man, you need to go ahead and book out in advance while we're doing it. If you're coming every week or every other week or once a month, let's go ahead and put you on a set day at a set time and go ahead and book you out for the whole year." So how many people do you need to actually book out? If you have quite a few people that come weekly or every other week, it only takes a certain amount of people, if you are booking them out for the year, to fill up your schedule for the year. So the more booked out I was, whether it's 6 months or a year, then it gave me, the demand and supply scenario. So then I could say, "Hey, I'm in demand, man. People want me." to cut their hair. So then we could talk about, there's coming a time where I'm going to have to increase my price because I'm booked out so far in advance. Now, in order to, how I actually started raising my price is, say we were at 20 and 25 a haircut, I would look at my, basically the average of what I was making. And now I wanted to really make sure that I was booked out at least a month in advance. So once that was there, I was in demand, I was booked out. Then I would look at, okay, what's the average price of a ticket price, right? So if everyone was giving me, say, average $40, and when I say average, I'm talking about 50% of the people. So I like to double my price. So if I'm at $20 a haircut, but the average ticket price is 40 and I'm booked out in advance, I know that if I raise my price to 40, say I lose half the people, I'm doing basically the same numbers with less people to cut, right? So basically that's how I did it. Every time, I just got more booked out, the demand grew. I began to, wait a few months, sometimes a year, and I would say, okay, what is my average ticket price? And I found that at first I was really scared to move from, say, 20 to 30 or 20 to 40 because I thought, man, I want to lose so many people. I might lose everybody. I don't know. But I was willing to take that risk. And there again, because I had half the people giving me $40, those people, I lost some people that were paying me $40 and then they left. And I hit them up and I said, hey, bro, I noticed when I raised my price to 40, you left, but you were already paying 40.
Right.
Why did you leave? And they're like, man, because, I always have tipped you. I believe in tipping and I just can't afford, to give you the 40 and tip. And I say, listen, man, I considered, whenever I was, thinking about this, I took that into consideration. I want you to know, please, man, come back, pay the $40 that you're paying. Don't worry about the tip. And to try to keep some of those people that I would have lost.
Love
But
that.
anyways, what I noticed is when I was charging $20 a haircut, it seemed like people were giving me like $2 tip a lot of time. And the people that I thought I would lose, it was only, giving me like $2 tip. When I raised my price to 40, some of them started paying me 60. And it blew my mind because I was like, man, you only tip $2. Now you're tipping 20,
Yeah.
on top of the price raise, And anyways, so basically that's how I did it. I just began to look at what that was. So whenever I was at, 50, 60 a cut, when I raised it to 100, I thought, I might lose half the people. But thankfully I might have lost like 2, 3, because I've built a relationship over time. People wanted to stick with me and they were willing to pay the price. And like some people ask me, if you're booked out, why haven't you went to 150 or 200? I don't know that I'll ever go over 100. And the reason being is because I know it's a lot for a haircut. I do not want to, I don't want to hurt people, man. I know I've got relationships with people that I love and they are, good clients of mine. And it's a struggle to pay $100. I don't want to lose them. But I also have people that give me 200, 160. I mean, I've got clients that'll come in and give me 1,000 for a haircut, 500 for a haircut. So I feel like God's going to take care of my needs regardless, but that's how I did it.
Yeah. I love that. And I love how you, so you basically have gotten to a point where you really enjoy the people you cut and the
Mhm.
relationships you have with them and the energy that they bring you. And I
Yeah.
was speaking about this with Andy when we were doing a live talking about the haircut pricing and all of that and stuff. And I'm like, bro, I just love who I cut right now.
Yeah.
Like there's never a time I look on my schedule and I'm like, oh, I gotta cut him, or oh, this is gonna be a tough day. I love the people I currently got on my schedule. I love the conversations we have, and I just love the energy of it. And regardless of whatever my price is, there I get handed 80, I'll get handed 100, I get handed 60. I still got people I cut for free. But overall, I'm just happy with the amount of money I'm personally making from cutting hair, and I'm more happier with the energy I have. That the people that are involved in my clientele right now. So I completely
Yeah.
understand why you say, at 100, you don't know if you'll go above, because you're making really good money from behind the chair, and you're happy,
Yeah.
cutting the people that you're cutting. One thing I would add, guys, when we're talking about getting booked out for the year, you would be surprised at how many people will take you up on the offer to set a set day and a set time to come in and get their haircut, bro. Like I just started doing this a few years back. It never crossed my mind to do that. Hairstylists do it all the time, and different industries do it all the time, but we don't do it. And I didn't think to do it. But then, like, once somebody brought it up to me, I forget exactly who taught me or shared it with me. I'm like, yo, I got to try that. And now, when I have people that sit in my chair that I enjoy cutting, that pay me well, the energy's good, I do my best to lock them into a reoccurring appointment. And I always let them know that if for whatever reason you can't make it, just do your best to give me a heads up and we'll figure something out. And rarely do I have issues with any of them. So, I say all that because I'm sure there's an overwhelming majority of you that are tapped into this right now that have not offered the clients that you love to cut an opportunity to set a reoccurring appointment. And I would say to you, do that. How do you do it? Let's say they come in on a Thursday at 2:00, right? And you're cutting their hair and you ask them, you can say something along the lines of, yo, bro, like, how often would you like to get your hair cut if you could? Like how often would that be? Well, I like to get in every 2 weeks, but sometimes you're booked and I can't get in, so I'll go 3, but I try to do 2. Well, I'm saying, bro, if you want, I can set you a reoccurring appointment for every 2 weeks. We could do Thursday at 2. Does this time normally work for you? And then they'll let you know, like, yeah, sure, I'm off Thursday, so it works. Actually, if you can get me in earlier, it'd be better. Want to do 10 a.m.? Sure. All right, let's do Thursday, 10 a.m. every 2 weeks. And if something were to pop up, you just let me know. But if you do that with your clients, more so the clients that you enjoy cutting, that you want to be around, and the ones that pay you good, you'll be surprised at how many of them will actually take you up on that offer. And I know my man Shannon co-signs that 100,000,000%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Appreciate you, Kewan Thompson. Just graduated. Any tips on finding the right shop? Appreciate you purchasing the super chat. I don't know if anybody else did. Thank you to all you guys who always do this. This is super. Me and Shannon appreciate you so much for not only just tapping in, but tipping us, right? Tipping for the conversation. So thank you. What's your advice on this, bro? Any tips on finding the right shop?
That's a good question. It's a challenging one. I definitely feel like, man, that you have to be in a place where you're, celebrated, not tolerated. I also feel like that, I would definitely get into a shop where they're not, where they're more, involved in helping develop you as a barber. I do know, I read on the comments earlier, someone made mention that, that's the challenge, trying to find someone that will actually help you. And I do know there's a lot of people out there, man, that we call them sharks, man. They're going to try to take all the business for themselves. They don't want to see you succeed. But there are a lot of barbers out there, man, like myself, like Marv, who we're just here to help. And I feel like the industry is really going in that direction. I feel like people are starting to realize that what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. So I feel like there's some good people out there that want to see you succeed. And I would definitely look for a team of people who are going to celebrate you. They're going to push you to the next level. They're going to just open up their arms and say, hey, man, however we can help you grow, we want to be that for you. I do believe it's out there. You may have to look around. Obviously, when it comes to the financial side of things, there's some shops that are commission, and there's some shops that are chair rent. I personally will never do commission. I do chair rent, so that's something that I would consider as well. Obviously, location is big. I would also be looking for a shop that's busy already. If there's no walk-ins, it's going to be harder for you to build a clientele. But if a shop is booming, that's the shop I want to be in, man. I want to have the opportunity to lock in clients, and if there is no clients coming in, it's very challenging. So you don't want to be in a shop where everyone's fighting over a client. I think that's when you start getting that shark mentality, because everybody feels like they need to pay their bills to survive. So I would definitely look for a shop with a business owner who has, developed a good culture where they're willing to help each other, but also they put some work in to build a name for themselves in the community, and it is popping.
I love that. And I would also add that you don't owe the first shop that gives you an opportunity a lifetime of loyalty. And it can be tough, because when people believe in us, or at least appear to believe in us, or just give us an opportunity, a lot of times we can feel this sense of loyalty that we owe them. And in
Yeah,
some instances, sure, we do, right? But in other instances, it's like, nah, bro, this just ain't it for me.
yeah,
So if you find yourself in a shop and it just don't feel right, or it's not what you thought it was, and you don't see a real future there, just know that you can go to another shop. It's okay. And you might be viewed as the bad guy. I
mm,
was. When I left my first shop, I got viewed as a bad guy. Marv left me hanging. Marv didn't give it enough time. He did me dirty. Whatever terms were used to describe it. Long story short, shortly after I left, the shop closed down, and homeboy ain't even a barber no more. He's doing a whole bunch of stuff, but that's a whole other thing. But I say all that because I was looked at as the bad guy, and you might be looked at as the bad guy too if you go to a shop and you end up leaving because it's not for you. But that's okay. So just understand, you don't owe the first shop that you go to a lifetime of loyalty. If it's not
yeah.
for you, it's not for you. I
Let,
seen a
let
good
me
question.
just
What
let
were
me
you
let me
saying?
add to that really quick.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
whenever you do leave, if you need to leave, whenever you do leave, leave the right way. That's important, man. I mean, leave honoring the person. You may disagree with him, but man, do it. Whenever you leave, try to do it in love. Try to honor that person, respect that person, and just, hey, I've tried it out. It's just not the right fit for me. So I've got to try something else. And there again, like Marv said, they may be mad at you, but just know in your heart that you've done everything that you can to leave the right way, because it's been said, whether it's true or not, how you exit a place is how you enter a place. And I've
Mm.
always just tried to exit the right way, and there again, they're going to still find things. Listen, if it wasn't for Marv leaving, this guy probably wouldn't have lost his shop. I'm sure he said that. But so then he wants to put the weight, and the excuses of why he didn't succeed on other people instead of taking ownership. People still talk, but at least in your heart, you'll know I did the right thing. I left the right way.
I agree with that 100%. And to speak to that, to confirm that, that's exactly what I did when I left. I had a talk face to face, man to man with them, and shared basically, like you said, like, I this is not for me. I was as honest as I could be, as authentic as I could be, even though the conversation was awkward, uncomfortable, and I was nervous entering it.
Yeah,
I did it what I needed to do, and I did that because I knew that by doing that and by leaving, if I'm viewed as the bad guy, if there's these different things going around about me, it didn't matter to me because I
that's right.
knew in my heart that I did what I needed to do, and I
That's
did
right.
it the right way. And that's what matters, guys. Like, you got to be with yourself 24/7. So you got to be able to sleep good at night. So if you, leave one of these shops in a messed up way, it might eat at you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It might eat at you like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have did that. I know the way I left that shop, it doesn't eat at me because I had that man to man talk, and it just wasn't right for me.
So good, man. So good.
Not saying I've always been right, guys. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. Trust me, there's been a lot of things where I'm like, man, I probably had some karma for that. Or man, I would look at it as a learning experience to never do something like that again. So I don't want you guys to think like, man, Marv's just always making the perfect decisions and do. No, I've made a lot of mistakes, but in that instance, I was very happy with how I handled it. Frankie says, if you could go back in time, what's the best advice you can give your younger self in this barber industry based on your approach, and what would you do differently?
I think the best advice I would give my younger self is focus on relationship. Um, Grow your relationship skills. And the reason I say that is because, I've seen phenomenal haircutters that can fade better than most, but yet they had horrible people skills. They did not develop relationship skills in life. And because of that, they can never go to that next level. It just, you know, but then I've seen people who actually are, say, mediocre barbers, below average barbers that are they're booked out. And I see, their same clients come week after week or every other week. And sometimes I see haircuts walk by and I think, wow, that was unique haircut there,
Yeah.
and that was real unique. And yet that person has the biggest smile on their face and they're like, hey, I'll see you next week, and why is that? It's because they've developed a relationship, man. And you know what I found out? People are willing, some people, a lot of people, um, are willing to overlook a bad haircut or even a off day or bad experience because of the relationship they had. I was telling a story at the class that I was at in Fort Worth. They asked me basically, what's the worst mistakes that I've ever made, or as far as messed up, and how did I deal with it? And and man, that was in one day, and this was years ago. It was before I had any of the the red, what are they called? The red guards with the little clamp on the back. You know what they're called, Marv?
The Speedo guides.
The Speedo guards, right? So before I had the Speedo guards, I had my old Walmart, guards, and my number two, it just wore out over time. And in one day, I went over two different people's head with that number two, and that number two guard popped off, and I went right in. And the first
Mm.
one was a little kid, and I was like, "Mom, I'm so sorry. Can I go ahead and give him a little design, like a little part design, try to finesse that in some way like we meant to do it?" And she's like, "Yeah, no problem." The second one was an adult, and he was not happy about it. And of course, he was like, "I don't want to design on my head, Shannon." So we had to figure out how to blend it out the best way possible. But I say all that to say is they both came back, and the reason they were very merciful to me, and didn't go off, even though the adult was very frustrated, man.
Mhm.
But because we had a relationship, he realized, man, I made a mistake. Mistakes happen. It was an off day. The situation doesn't usually happen. But he was willing to show me mercy because I've taken the time to build that relationship. And because we had that relationship, he let me slide. I mean, he was honest with me, but he let me slide. And I think it's important, man, to build those healthy relationships with your clients, because those are the ones, man, that are going to keep coming back and that they want to see you win and they want to support you.
I love that. Very well said, bro. I would also add, because somebody asked earlier, like basically, how do you, develop, like how do you develop better customer service and relationships and all of that? And I'd say a couple things, guys. Number one, when you're out and about, wherever you are on Earth, and you are treated well, eh, pay attention to that. Pay
Yeah.
attention to like how people are treating you. What are they doing that is making you feel like you're being treated well? And then just try to duplicate those behaviors. When you go in different businesses or deal with people who you feel like are not treating you well, pay attention to that as well. And then
Yeah.
do your best to avoid being like that. And just paying attention to your everyday life, becoming more aware, will help you improve your customer service and just your relationship building skills. That's for one. For two, what I'd love to share with you guys is this real quick, because I love this. It's an app called Headway, and I think it's like a $15 a month, maybe, right?
Mhm.
But it comes with these 15-minute book summaries,
Yeah.
and it's amazing, guys. They're audiobook summaries, and you can read them as well. And what I love to do is I throw stuff on in my car all the time. I'm always listening to podcasts, audio books, different things to help uh, build myself better. And Headway is one of the apps that I've been using a lot over the last couple months because it takes books and shortens them into 15-minute summaries. And it's got all different types of books, guys, when it comes to leadership, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to communication skills, when it comes to business, when it comes to success, when it comes to finances, any of those like personal development topics that you could think of, you can search within this app, and they got tons of books for you. Like as you even just see right here, it says The Power of Habits, The 12 Rules for Life, 5 Love Languages, Atomic Habits, Unlimited Memory, Think and Grow Rich. It's a really dope app to help feed your mind and feed your spirit with some very, very good information when it comes to like learning how to be a better human, be a better speaker, be a better communicator, be better husband, be a better father. I'm always doing my best to educate myself.
Yes, sir.
And I got to be honest with you guys, I don't really listen to music like that. When we're in the shop, yeah, I have music on, but I don't be listening to music like that on my downtime. I don't really watch many movies anymore. And, you know, some people might say, wow, you're no fun no more. But I don't know. I'm just at a point in my life where I'm trying to feed myself quality information and higher vibration stuff that is going to make me an overall better person. So I'd rather watch a 2 hour and 15-minute conversation between Marvy Marv and S Craft Blends than just some BS on social media or some drama filled Netflix series. Or I just don't want to do that anymore. So, you know, I say all that because, you know, if you want to improve different areas of your life, there's a lot of information out there that you guys can consume that can help you improve in those ways. So just start trying to invest some time, energy, and even some money into that.
What's so
Barbers.
funny is, what's so funny is you know, if you look at people who are successful in life, or they're, you know, have influence, making a difference, you realize that most of those people are reading. I have the same app. Actually, I think it's a different name, like Deep Stat,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. There's different
Mm-hmm.
ones, but same exact books and 15 minutes and all that stuff. And anyways, but leaders are learners. And the reality is you have to grow there before you can go there. And if
Mm.
you're not willing to take the time, man, to grow and have that personal development, you're not ever going to be ready to, you know, step into that place that you want to go.
Yeah. I love it. And then the most important thing, too, guys, is when you're consuming this information, do your best to implement it. You know, because a lot of us become addicted to education and information, but be allergic to execution. So, you know, so we
Yes.
got to consume the good info, educate ourselves, and then do our best to apply it and just get better and better and better at applying. The app is called Headway. Like Shannon's got his too that he listens to. The one that I was referencing was Headway, but I also use Kindle to read books, and I use Audible to
Yeah.
download audiobooks that may not be on Headway, or if I just want the longer form of the audiobook. But I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I read a lot of books. I get back here. I got a ton of books back here. Like I don't really read these too much, but I take them with me if I'm on a plane or something. But I like reading on my phone or listening to audiobooks. And like K Cuts here says, you have to pay attention to what you consume and allow to go into your mind. It's super important, guys. You got to do your best to make your environment an environment that is going to help you grow. Because at the end of the day, what you guys have to understand is this, right? You have to understand that you can't necessarily change who you are, but you can change your environment, and by changing your environment is going to change who you are, right? And the analogy that it always works very well is the seed, right? If you're going to plant a seed and you plant it in some soil and it's not being watered, right? It's not being taken care of, or it's just in a bad area, what's going to happen with that seed? It's not going to fully blossom into whatever it could truly become, right? Whereas if you take that seed and you change its environment and you put it in a better environment where it's being watered properly, it's getting the right amount of sunlight, it's in good soil, you know, that seed could blossom into that big, beautiful, you know, oak tree, right? So, you know, the seed is still the seed. The only thing that changed is the environment. And by changing the environment, it changed how the seed, what the seed turned into, right? And you guys are the seed. So, you know, when you guys think about taking control over your environment, it's got to go deeper than just where you're located, right? Like your environment where you're located. Your environment also includes what you're consuming online, what you're consuming on TV, what type of conversations you're having, the people you're surrounding yourself with, what are you reading. That all plays into your environment. So it always amazes me when I deal with people who are suffering from high anxiety, who are always worrying, who are always stressing out. And then when you dig deeper, see what type of content they're consuming, they're always watching the news. They're always watching some crazy movies. They're always talking about different things that are just the craziest things to talk about. And it's like, no wonder you're freaking yourself out. Like, look what you're consuming. So, knowing that and hearing that, guys, just do your best to take control of your environment. Where are you placing yourself? Who are you placing yourself around? What type of conversations are you having? What are you reading? What are you watching on TV? All of that stuff plays into your environment. And if you can't necessarily change the people that you're around immediately, what you can do with those people is change the conversations you're having with those people. Just start changing the conversations you're having, and you'll be amazed at how much your life will change, because you'll start to see different sides of people that you never seen, which will change your life. Or people will start to weed themselves out of your life because they no longer want to have those conversations with you, and it will free up space to get some new people in your life to where you can have these more empowering conversations. You know what I'm saying? S-Crap Blends. You already know what time it is,
Yes,
dog,
sir. Yes,
right?
sir.
Bro, I want to say I appreciate you, man. We're at almost 2.5 hours. I do got one last question for you, but before I ask it, I do want to thank you again and give you your flowers. Barbers, drop some gems in the chat if you feel like this was an informative, insightful, a high value conversation between me and Shannon. Flood the chat with some gems. If you could, guys, take a screenshot or take a picture of this if you're watching on your TV. And when all said and done, share it to your story on Instagram. Tag me and S-Craft Blends in it, so that way we can show you some love. S-Craft Blends went in, man, and I appreciate you, bro, because what I hope a lot of people got to see with you tonight is that you're just so much more than a very good hair cutter. You're people was calling you a prophet. You know what I mean? Like, you're changing people's lives out here. You're helping people. You're inspiring them in ways that expand beyond barbering. You're uplifting humanity, as cheesy as that may sound to some people. You're doing it, bro. And I'm grateful for you. I'm thankful for you. I'm grateful that we've crossed paths and connected. And we got a lot of work to do in the future. Visions are definitely aligned. Frequencies are aligned. So I want to do my best to keep helping you get your message heard and getting your voice out there. So, just from the barbers community, we want to say thank you, bro. We appreciate you. And
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, man, for sharing your platform with me. I don't take it lightly. I do believe also that, our paths are aligned and that God brought us together for a reason. Also, I just want to say thank you for everyone that supports me. And man, just the encouraging words that you guys always give. It's a blessing. And I appreciate everybody for, just the love and support, man.
Yeah, guys, and you got to make sure you follow Shannon on YouTube. All right, follow him on YouTube. All right, he's got a whole bunch of videos, some really good stuff on there. If you enjoyed this conversation, you're gonna love his content on YouTube, and follow him on Instagram as well. I know those are his those are the ones you're most active on, right, bro?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, with all of that being said, guys, hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already as well, especially if you're really enjoying these conversations. And I guess the last question that I got for you tonight is, if you can narrow it down to at least the one you want to share tonight, what is a gem that has transformed the way you approach your life and your career and help you change everything for the better?
So my passion, is mindset and identity. And like I said earlier, that you have to grow there before you go there. And I guess my phrase for life is behavior follows belief. And the reason I'm so passionate about identity and our mindset is because I've battled for years with insecurity because of, I was the only white boy raised in the hood. That means I was different because I was the only one, white boy raised in the hood in my time. I spoke a certain way, I dressed a certain way. So then, whenever I would get around the white people, because I was different from them, I also felt rejected. So I always felt like that I was an outcast, like I didn't belong. I believed that I was worthless. And because of that, I acted that way. There again, behavior follows belief. If you're a man or a woman, a human being, but you believe that you're a dog, how are you going to act? You're going to act like a dog. So if you are, a man, let's say, and I'm not, trying to get into the gender thing, it's just a point. But if you're a man and genetics and science and all this stuff tells us you're a man, but even if you believe that there is a God, but somehow God made a mistake and he put a woman in a man's body and you believe you're a woman, how are you going to act? You're going to act like a woman. There again, no attack. I'm just saying that's just how it is. So what happens if you believe you're a loser? The reality is you're going to act like a loser. And I proved that to be true, man, because I felt like I was a loser, because I was worthless. That's how I acted. And it got me in a lot of mess. And today I can say at 44 years old with a beautiful wife, beautiful children, I'm blessed, man. God has been good to me. In order to get from where I was to where I'm at, the main thing that had to change, and will have to change for you as well if you want to be somewhere different, is you got to change your mindset, mostly how you view yourself. The Bible says that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. That word heart there is not the muscle in your chest that pumps blood. It actually refers to the deep subconscious mind. So we have the conscious mind, and a lot of us, we've learned what to say. I mean, them thoughts just go through our conscious mind. When someone says, "Hey man, how you doing?" we say, "Man, I'm blessed and highly favored." It's just that conscious first response. But if you really, when you walk away from that conversation and you really think about it, you're like, man, my life sucks. Like that deep subconscious level, you feel like, your life isn't what it just sucks. And you feel like maybe you're worthless or whatever. So saying that again, that, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. What you believe about yourself on that deep subconscious level, that's what produces your life. The Bible also says, guard your heart. There again, your deep subconscious mind above all else, for out of it flows the issues of life. So if we're talking about the heart or that deep subconscious mind, or the mind, let's say, the Bible says that basically that if you want a transformed life, right, you want a different life, that you have to first, renew your mind. What is renewing your mind? Renewing your mind is taking out those old garbage thoughts that aren't producing anything good in your life. You got to remove those thoughts, man. Throw them out, and you got to start thinking different. You got to meditate, man, on a new thought process and how you view yourself. And you got to meditate on it and declare it so much. The Bible says, let the weak say that I am strong. And so even though you're weak, declaring you're strong, some people would be like, isn't that a lie? No, we are speaking by faith into our future. See, God doesn't see you where you're at now. He sees you as a completed project. He sees you as perfect. He sees you as, just your purpose fulfilled. So he's outside of time, and that's how he sees you at the end. So we got to start seeing ourselves for who we really are. I have this whole thing where I believe that we need to become who we already are. The reality is, if I can see myself in the future, the perfect Shannon, the one that's been matured and the one who has, done what it takes to walk out what God has purposed me to do. If I see that completed Shannon the way God sees me, I have to believe that that's who I am. I mean, and I speak like this guy. I see like this guy. I'm trying to be this guy. So I have to own this guy's identity. And then what happens, all of a sudden, because behavior follows belief, I begin to start acting like this guy. So, you know what? You might be dead broke today, but I would say if you want to be wealthy and you feel like that's part of your completed, or you're finished in, let's say, that you see yourself as you want to have wealth in the future, you need to start thinking wealthy right now, right? You need to start meditating on what it's like to be wealthy, and you need to start opening your mouth and say, I am wealthy. Just like let the weak say that I'm strong. It's not a lie, man. I'm just speaking into my future reality. I'm creating my future by the words that I'm speaking. So, man, I get up every day and I say, I am wealthy. I just start quoting things that God has already said about me. And the more I say it, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. The more I speak, listen, the world's telling you all kind of crap, man. They're trying to beat you down with their words. They're telling you you're worthless, how you'll never amount to anything. Like I talked about YouTube haters. There's always people that are going to come and try to tear you down. You've got to silence the critics, man, and you got to speak what you got to start talking to yourself, man. You got to encourage yourself. So you need to start declaring the most powerful words in the universe, and that's I am. I am is the most powerful word. And I believe that, Marv, I don't know if you know this, I'm sure you do. Your dad was telling me that you were raised in church and the Bible and stuff, but the very first time God tells someone his name, whenever Moses is going to deliver the children of Israel out of Egyptian bondage and slavery, he says, so who do I tell the Pharaoh who sent me? Like, what's your name? And God said, my name is I am. And I believe that God told us his name was I am. And then he said, don't use the Lord's name in vain. Because think about this, if God's name is I am, and then you say, I am stupid, I am ugly, I am a loser, whatever, you are basically taking God's name in vain. So whenever you speak about yourself, you need to say, I am beautiful, I am intelligent, I am a leader, I am called. You know what I'm saying? You start using that I am and speaking, not maybe your reality right now, but who you want to be, who you see yourself in the future. So anyways, I guess that's what I would really like to hit, and just leave with you, man, that if I couldn't say anything else, there again, behavior follows belief. And listen, your life always follows where your mind goes. So listen, you got to change the way you think, man. Change your mindset, how you see yourself, how you see others, how you see life, how you see business, all those things. Change your mindset, man. Focus on the positive, and then you'll start to feel positive. A lot of times, my girls will say, uh, I've been feeling down, I've been feeling depressed, and whenever I hear I've been feeling down, I say, you know what? Feelings always follow thoughts. So if feelings follow thoughts, I can tell you right now, you've been thinking on negative stuff. If you think negative, you feel negative, and if you feel negative, you usually do negative. So I said, you want to know how to change your feelings? Just change your thoughts. Begin to think positive thoughts, and then you'll start feeling positive. Speak positive words. It'll reinforce that positive feeling, and you'll start doing positive. So
Barbers! Your man Shannon just snapped, man. Please flood the chat with some gems. I was hung on every word. I absolutely love
thank
that,
you, sir.
bro. Beautifully said. And just to piggyback off of that and add a little bit to it, a great question you guys could start asking yourself to create this new identity within yourself is this: what would you tomorrow want you to do today? What would you tomorrow want you to do today? Right?
Yeah.
So in other words, if you want to be in better shape, right? What would the version of you who's in better shape want you to do today?
Mm-hmm.
And what's powerful about that is you will have answers, right? If you want to be somebody that is more financially secure and better with your money, what would the version of you who is good with their money want you to do today. You will get the answers. All right. So that's something to take away as well. The key question, just to reiterate, is just ask yourself, what would you tomorrow want you to do today? And then just start raising your standards and living up to that and doing those things that God is telling you. All right. Barbers. It's so funny because Zachary's like, how can I be that wise? So many gems. We just had church gems. You know how it happens, guys? I'm going to tell you this, right? This is how it happens. Because you got to feed your mind this stuff, bro. Like Shannon is thinking like this because he's feeding this into his mind. You guys are going to leave from this one conversation with so many profound insights and so much more wisdom because you tuned in for 2.5 hours to listen to this. So think about how life-changing that could be just from you tuning into this one thing. So imagine if you were feeding your mind this type of stuff daily and frequently, how much different your life could be. So that's how you get to see the world this way and think this way, is by taking in these type of thoughts and these insights over and over and over again until it becomes a part of you. And like Plug said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. One day at a time. Just do your best to be the best version of you each and every day. And I love, like Kobe Bryant once said something along the lines of, just do your best to get 1% better every day. And that compounds over time. Just do the best you can today. Try to be better today and do that every single day. And you'll take your stuff to the next level. Plug said, I'm about to cancel rap music. Hey, listen, that's a whole nother rant. And the vibrations that come with that, bro, I don't know how healthy that could be. Just but that's a whole different conversation. But again, Shannon, thank you. I don't know where you went. I think his camera might have died. So I'll give him a second to come back. He might be done. His camera might have died. Literal gem talk. Barbers. CeeLo said, what I've been telling myself lately is I'm going to die a legend. There he is. He's back. Boom. Took us to church. I said his camera might have died. That's why he might have been gone. But
everything just started spinning. I was like, is it both of us or what?
It's because of the gems, bro. It's because you went crazy on here. It's overload, gem overload. It's the first time we experienced it. So thank you again, bro. I appreciate you guys. Go follow S-Craft Blends on all the platforms, Instagram, YouTube, more particularly. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't done so, take a screenshot, take a picture, share this to your story. Shannon, if you could hang out for like a couple of minutes, I'm going to end the live and I just want to chat with you behind the scenes.
Sounds good, bro.
To the rest of you guys, thank you. Thank you for taking your time to spend time with us. We know how valuable your time is. In fact, it's really the only asset in life. And it's the one thing that you can never get back once it's spent. So the fact that you spent all this time with us, we appreciate it more than you guys could ever know. If you enjoyed this conversation, I am going to be saving it to the channel. So make sure you share it with somebody that you feel like will get value out of it as well. And I can promise you it's definitely worth a rewatch. I'm going to rewatch it probably tonight just to pick up some more gems. So thank you guys again. Until next time, keep chasing greatness, keep pushing, keep striving to be the best version of you and take everything to the next level. All right. Barbers, we'll tap in with you soon.